Welcome to the Mormon News Roundup, your go-to source for the latest headlines and critical analysis on all things LDS.
Breaking news.
Join D-Vay's
Mormon News Roundup.
That's talent on loan from Kolob every Sunday and Monday night.
We will uncover the truth behind the news that matters most to the Mormon community.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the weekly Mormon News Roundup. I am your humble host, D-Vay's. That is talent on loan from Kolob. I am really excited about today's show. We've got a huge episode on top. It's going to probably be like a 2-hour episode. This is March 30th, 2025. This is episode 157 coming right at you. We are coming live from the nation's capital. I am the Diddly Whack Mac Mormon Daddy. I am the king of the Sons of Provo. I'd like to welcome all of those people out there who are in the live chat. It is great to see you. I am really looking forward to this episode. What do we have on tap for you? Well, we have a heck of a lot on tap for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just tell you that right now. We'll start off with, sorry, I've got to remove that from the stage and add that to the stage. Episode 157, Jared Halverson has definitely stepped in it there. He's got the dunce cap there on the right. Russell Nelson cannot be happy with what Jared Halverson has been putting up. It's not good. We're going to get into all of that controversy. I do like that thumbnail, though. I think he deserves a dunce cap. I do have a couple of videos that are going to be coming out about Jared Halverson soon. And by the way, as you can see from my moniker down here below, I am a certified non-sexist individual, which is always helpful at a time like this. And now I do want to let you all know that I have put together a new theme song here for the Mormon News Roundup. I normally just jump right into the news, but I'm excited to bring you a new theme song here that we're going to be kicking off right now. I'm excited to share this one with you. Let's check it out.
Where the headlines never sleep, D-Vay's takes the mic, diving in so bold and deep. With talent on loan from Kolob, you know he's got the view, bringing latter-day Saint gossip and the latest breaking news. Mormon News Roundup, tune in and see controversies, drama, and theocracy. Live Sunday nights at 9:30 ST from Washington, D.C., where the truth runs free. Prophets, apostles, and scandals galore, tit and cash stacks, and a whole lot more. History, doctrine, we pull back the veil, exposing the facts and the tall tale trails. What? So grab your popcorn, bring a friend. This is the show where the spin will end. Let's debate, don't miss a beat. D-Vay's is here, turn up the heat. Mormon News Roundup, buckle in tight. The truth shines brighter than a Salt Lake light. Mormon News Roundup, buckle in tight. The truth shines brighter than a Salt Lake light.
I did have a lot of fun putting that one together. I hope you enjoyed that one. That will be the new theme song for the Mormon News Roundup. Alan, it's always great that you drop by. I really appreciate it. Now that the Backyard Professor doesn't really stream on Mormonism, I kind of have this Sunday slot all to myself, which is why I've got so many people here joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that theme song there. We got a lot of good stuff to come from. There's no doubt about that here. Let's see what else we got on tap. We got a huge show, and I am in absolutely no hurry to get this thing done. You know, I'm starting a new segment here, which is the number of days since the last super chat, and I'm serious that I don't want you to send in the super chat. We're going to see how high this thing can go. It has been 63 days since the last super chat, which I believe was from Mormon Satan. Shout out to Mormon Satan. We're going to keep that alive today, folks. 63 days since the last super chat. We're going to keep that streak alive. And speaking of streaks, I have uploaded a video every single day for approximately, this is maybe a little over 400 days. I have not missed one day in posting a video in 400 days. There is no one, ladies and gentlemen, who even comes close. I will probably go out on top. And believe me, that is no small feat here. But if you want new content, it will be here every single day on the Mormon News Roundup at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You will be treated to a new video of some Mormon-related content. You will also get a new short at noon, and you will also get a new short at midnight. You will get 3 videos a day on this channel like clockwork. You can set your watch to it. Who else do we have? Hey, Peter, it's great that you joined the program. Really nice to see you. What else do we have? I told you we have an absolutely enormous episode on tap here. Here is your agenda, brothers and sisters, boys and girls. Here is your agenda. BYU basketball has been in the news. Did they win in the Sweet 16? We will let you know some general conference predictions. The semi-annual general conference is coming up next week. We're going to talk about that. The secret lives of Mormon wives. These gals are always causing a lot of headlines and turning a lot of heads with their salacious content. Jared Halverson has stepped in it big time, and we're going to talk about his less than inspiring remarks, which many people consider to be quite sexist. Big Chris, welcome to the program. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm hoping that that's not a fat joke there, Chris, but if it is, I do need to drop a couple of pounds. So no harm, no foul there. And by the way, if you could consider becoming a groupie, I would definitely appreciate that. Ray, it is great to see you. So glad that you are joining us. We're going to talk about garments. They are still really hot in the news this week. I'm telling you, this stuff is crazy, plus some temple updates. Ladies and gentlemen, I follow wherever the news goes. I don't have an agenda generally for this program. Wherever, if it bleeds, it leads. I subscribe to Google Alerts that send me a daily email on Mormon and on LDS. And then I take a look at the end of every day and see what is dominating the headlines. And that is what I'm going to bring to you through my inspired and snarky commentary. I'm really looking forward to this episode. I told you that. We are going to get things started right off the bat here. Ladies and gentlemen, the secret lives of Mormon wives. Miss Affleck here, POV, you finally convinced your husband to go to Chippendales. Believe me, these gals generate so many headlines, and they are Mormon related. Let's these are the secret lives of Mormon wives. Notice the look on her face. She's into it. Most of these are ladies. This husband, I don't know if he's into it. Let's take a look at this.
Exposure therapy, baby.
Does he look into it to you? Holy cow, because she's a celebrity, she gets to go up on stage, I guess. He does. Now, gentlemen, is that a smile of somebody who's really into it, or is that a smile of somebody who knows they're going to be on camera? That's what I need you to weigh in on.
I don't know if I feel comfortable anymore. I think we might need to get out of here.
Again, she gets to go up on stage because she's a celebrity, right? I believe that she is the cousin of Ben Affleck, which is why she gets to go. Whoa! I didn't get to see that. He's up on stage at the end. Let's look at the sincerity. Does he look sincere to you up on that stage, ladies and gentlemen? I do think that he's having a good time. This is what leads the headlines. Believe me, these gals generate a lot of content here. Everything that they do has millions of views. These get actual news coverage, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, this is pretty salacious stuff out there. Jen Affleck spotted. This is in multiple. I'm not going to play this second one here, but she's been spotted, and this got millions of views here. It's just incredible. Songs of Our Own. Great to see you on board here. I guess we're not going to rush things. Look at this. She's back at it. This is everybody's taking picture of this. Jen Affleck from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives spotted at Chippendales in Las Vegas. Looks like a good program, by the way. My brother lives in Vegas. Maybe I'm going to have to check out that show. That looks pretty happening there. No doubt about that. And then afterwards, Jen Affleck is going to get interviewed, interviewing Mormons about party drinks. Let's see. Do you think she knows about her drinks? Let's find out.
Dirty Diet Dr. Pepper.
Party drink.
Dirty Diet Dr. Pepper.
Because I can't drink alcohol, because I'm Mormon.
You don't mix any alcohol with it?
No, never.
What's the quickest engagement you've witnessed?
Oh, damn.
What did you just say?
Oh, sorry. Dang. Honestly,
This is a really outtakes here, songs. This isn't from season 2. This is just these guys' normal lives here. This isn't season 2 has, I believe that they have completed it, but they haven't announced the release date of season 2 yet. So this is just teaser stuff. This is what these guys do like literally every day, all day. By the way, if you could support the Mormon News Roundup, please consider becoming a patron. I would appreciate that. Hit the like and the thumbs up.
I felt like mine was pretty fast. 4 months.
Would you rather $5 million or 5 minutes with Joseph Smith?
Joseph Smith is dead. I'm still alive, so.
Sounds like you're a materialistic person.
I mean, look at me.
What's your favorite party drink?
Why I don't drink alcohol. I love my Swig Fighter Refresher.
What's Swig?
Swig.
Oh, wait a minute. $5 million or 5 minutes with Joseph Smith? Easy. $5 million, folks. I don't need 5 minutes with Joseph Smith.
Is a soda shop where you can get some fun drinks, non-alcoholic drinks.
What are your thoughts on the Book of Mormon musical?
It's so funny, so relatable if you're Mormon.
What's the most accurate part of it?
When they're like in hell and there's like Starbucks in the background.
Why is Starbucks in hell?
Wait a minute. They're in hell in Starbucks in the Book of Mormon musical? Wait, is she watching the same musical? I don't remember that part.
Because we don't believe in drinking coffee.
What's your favorite party drink?
Well, I'm a big tequila drinker, but if I was going to a party with wit, I'd probably get the fighter and just add tequila to it.
Would you rather have a sip of alcohol or unalive a puppy?
A sip of alcohol? What kind of question is that?
You sick
They always ask these questions to BYU students, and they always give the wrong answers, I've noticed.
person.
If it makes me a sicko, I'd rather drink alcohol.
Yeah, this is all these guys do. This is some of the most mind-numbing content, but somehow they are still Mormon, right? She says she can't drink alcohol because she's Mormon. So she still identifies as a Latter-day Saint here. Whitney, not so much. But yeah, Jen Affleck there, she considers herself to be a Latter-day Saint. I have no issues with that. Again, we're going to cover these guys. This is all, my news blows up every single week. This is what drives the eyeballs here. Let's see what's going on with Taylor Franke Paul, by the way.
Shut up. Lockjaw. Giving MCs lockjaw.
That's it.
Silence is my trade. Shut up.
Hundreds of thousands of views. It's all about the beauty. It's all about the fashion. It's all very, very superficial. There is no doubt about that. Pretty good hair refresh though. Boy, that's a pretty good hairdo. Don't know much of that. Don't know much about that if I don't mind saying so myself. How we feel about season 2 coming out. You were asking songs about season 2. Season 2 is coming out very, very soon here. And they're going to be adding in a couple new characters. Going to ratchet up the salacious content. And a big Chris, these girls absolutely know how to fun. I mean, you go out with these girls at night, you are going to have fun. It's not going to be boring. There's no doubt about that. Let's see what's going on about them and season 2. This is a quick one.
I thought I was going to have a grand mal seizure. Well, that was stressful. I thought I was going to have a grand mal seizure.
Now that's it. A little teaser there on season 2. How do they feel about it coming out? Well, there's a lot of intrigue behind the scenes. They let it gin up a lot of, I don't know if it's fake behind the scenes drama where they're always arguing with each other on social media, or if it's real. And as far as Big Chris says, are they still soft swinging? Big Chris, I think you'd know better than I would. I'll just put it that way. Haven't watched any of it. I totally understand why you haven't watched it. There's no doubt about that. But The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, big show out there. There's no doubt about that. Now, Brigham Young University. The sports led the headlines as well this week. BYU for the first time since Jimmer Fredette, 2011. That was the last time that BYU hit the Sweet 16. I mean, it has been a long time. I mean, Mormons are pretty well known for their basketball, to be honest with you. And BYU has a pretty decent team every single year, usually. And this year they did pretty well. So unfortunately, they got absolutely destroyed in the Sweet 16. Alabama handed BYU a historic loss. And it was, quite frankly, quite embarrassing for the Cougars. And could you please hit that like button right now out there? I would really appreciate that as well. And KD Ash, welcome to the program. Alabama was unconscious during this game. I mean, I'm sitting there watching it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I have only live streamed a BYU sporting event twice in the last 10 years. You know, sometimes I'll watch a replay or a football game if they're in a bowl usually a replay. I don't live stream much BYU. So when they're going deep into the NCAA tournament, that's pretty big. So I live streamed, or I watched live the last 2 BYU games. Alabama, what the heck, man? They just absolutely destroyed the Cougars, just absolutely crushed them. Pretty embarrassing. I kind of gave up on it halfway through there, as KD Ash said. And this is the star. This is the unfortunate thing about the BYU team here. It said star BYU player suspended after testing positive for coffee. Wow, that is absolutely that is absolutely tragic. Nathan Hinckley, no wonder he played so good. You have to learn to respect the rules. I hope the league makes an example out of him. Can't have people running around hopped up on caffeine. It's not fair. I definitely agree with you, Nathan Hinckley. Yeah, testing positive for, of course, this is tongue-in-cheek here, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a joke. But the crazy thing about that BYU team, by the way, is that the nickname is, instead of Brigham Young, it's a Brigham Old. Because Trevor Nell is 26 years old. He's the oldest player in March Madness. He's 5 months older than professional basketball players. The BYU basketball team is one of the oldest teams around. And yeah, Ray, BYU, Alabama just poured in the three-pointers, set an NCAA record with something, I can't remember how many it was like 23s. Absolutely crazy. Scott Carter, welcome to the program. Go BYU. You know, I'm an alumni of BYU. I will always probably be a Cougar sports fan. There's no doubt about it. And as Katie, how do you test positive for coffee? Well, it's about prayer and discernment with your bishop. Yeah, but that's unfortunate. But this was a big news story. But yeah, they lost, unfortunately. Okay, moving right along here. Next article here. Rebecca Biblioteca. LDS Church submits an application with new rendering for McKinney, Texas LDS Temple at 120 feet. So you remember when they initially proposed the temple, it was way higher than the city zoning. Then there was a mediation where they agreed to a non-binding resolution, and then the church pulled out of that resolution and threatened to sue the town. Now it seems like cooler heads have prevailed, and we're seeing a new 120-foot temple. And the mayor there, Mayor Lesnar, confirmed Tuesday that the town received a submission for a conditional use permit from the church for a temple the size of November's mediation dimensions. So the church has decided to call off the dogs. Who'd let the dogs out? The plans first go to the town's Planning and Zoning Commission for a vote, then to the town council. Fairview's town council will meet Tuesday in a special meeting and consult legal counsel. I have a good feeling about this, and this is the rendering, by the way, of that compromised version of the McKinney, Texas Temple, which was eventually renamed to the Fairview Temple. It was 120 feet tall, 30,000 square feet. They submitted the plan for this compromised version. We're waiting on Fairview as to whether they will approve that. That will be very interesting. Oh, by the way, I was running a poll in the background here, just real quick here. I said, who is more sexist, Cardin Ellis, Dives, Jared Halverson, or any toxic Exmo mansplainer? And Cardin Ellis is coming out on top. We will return to that. We will return to that just in a moment. Yes, I definitely do love the onion. And as Ray said, 120 feet is still way higher than previous structures. Yes, the church, though, has at least lowered their height of the temple, which I think is definitely a wise one. Accurate Paul. Hey, Coach, welcome to the program. Great to have you on board. And Tim, I'm glad that you're joining us, leaving the Backyard Professor and coming over to the real Sunday night stream. Tongue in cheek there. Don't get too worked up over that. Really appreciate you. But Nemo here, he weighed in on the Texas once again. He is a temple buster in chief, and he talked about how Jesus Christ has decided not to sue a Texas town. That was very kind of Jesus. I really appreciate Jesus working that out here. And as Peter said before we watched this clip, still 60 odd feet too high for zoning rules, yes, but probably has a better chance of getting through the town council, even though the church has received an icy reception in Fairview. Maybe Nemo can clear all of this up for us and tell us about how Jesus Christ has decided not to sue a Texas town after all that's going on.
The Mormon church threatened to sue if they couldn't build a temple. I'm sorry, let me be more specific. Do you remember the town of Fairview, Texas? Well, it seems the church has now decided that they want to submit the shorter design that was mediated in November instead of rushing straight to a lawsuit. Hopefully this means the church has realized that it doesn't look that great to deliver notice of intention to sue before the town's even had a chance to take the shorter design through any of the steps. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments.
Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments there. Nemo is weighing in. Notice of intention to sue. Uh, I think the church felt the heat of the bad PR, arguing that the taller steeple is integral to their religious worship and then publishing renderings of the tiny peepee on their proposed Brussels temple. Yes, they're pointing out the hypocrisy. In this entire case, it seems very capricious and it seems very misguided. I think the church has someone at church headquarters, cooler heads have prevailed, which I think is definitely wise. Now, a couple of other, we got a lot of articles here. So first of all, Lori Vallow, the doomsday mom, remember, she was the one who was convicted in Idaho of killing her children. Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow. Also, she's now being tried for her, I believe it's her fourth husband's death, Charles Vallow, in Arizona, because in Idaho, she was only given the death penalty, but she's facing additional charges here, which is actually quite common, even though they have her on a conviction for a number of murders and being implicated in Tammy Daybell's death, which is her husband, Chad Daybell's former wife. A lot of times the government will want to make sure that none of the charges slip through the cracks. Let's say that there was a bad jury or incompetent counsel or something like that. They want to make sure that these people stay in prison for a very long time. So she has now filed motions to dismiss the case, citing prosecutorial misconduct here. This is her booking photo. Again, this is the Idaho picture, but this is taking place in Arizona. Now, if you want to know quite a bit about that, you should head over to Megan Connor, who is the cousin of Lori Vallow's channel. She's been covering this quite well. But Lori Vallow here has been, she's been representing herself in these proceedings. She's declined to take counsel, even though the court has appointed her a couple of helpers. She's trying to be a pro se attorney, and it's not, she's not doing a very good job. By the way, what is it about Latter-day Saints when they're on trial that they want to be pro se? Remember, Ted Bundy was pro se. Lori Vallow is pro se. It really gums things up, and she's filed a lot of crazy things here. There's no doubt about that. As Peter said, love how the church shows their true colors when told no. Yeah. Let's check this out here, because over there at the Midlife Revolution, the third verse with Megan Connor, she breaks all of this down for us. Lori Vallow's motion to dismiss what's really going on with this trial. It's been absolutely huge in the news, especially if you're into true crime.
Lori Vallow Daybell, the doomsday mom, unfortunately my cousin. She's currently serving 3 consecutive life sentences in Idaho in the deaths of her 2 youngest children and her new husband's former wife. At the moment, however, she is in Arizona awaiting trial in the conspiracy case in the death of her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. Back in October, Judge Boreski granted Lori her request to represent herself at trial, and since she was appointed as her own attorney, she's filed 3 separate motions to have her case dismissed on various different grounds, mostly relating to the speedy trial right. But this last motion that she filed last week is the most unhinged thing I have ever seen. Even I didn't expect something like this from Lori. In this latest motion, Lori alleges prosecutorial misconduct on the part of prosecutor Trina Kay. She lists several really thin arguments here, but then she goes off on the weirdest tangent I've ever seen. She says, Ms. Kay has personally thrown her ethics and duties out the window in order to win this high-profile case in front of a worldwide audience. Because this court has ignored the state's conduct, Trina Kay became more blatant in her disregard for her ethical obligations. This is sadly similar to her longtime boyfriend Juan Martinez's behavior in a high-profile case years ago here in Maricopa County. It seems her behavior is not original. Now, why in the world would Lori bring prosecutor Trina Kay's personal life into the courtroom?
That is a very good question. Let me get to a couple of these super chats. First of all, at least Ted Bundy was at least a law student, right, Coach? He was a law student. He didn't complete his law degree, but he, after he committed a number of his murders in Washington State, he relocated to Salt Lake City, and he was pursuing 1 year at the University of Utah in his law degree. And right, Ray, this Arizona trial is for separate charges. Again, it's for Charles Vallow, which is her fourth husband, who died under very suspicious circumstances here. Alan, I'm sorry, folks, is the clips that we're showing having low volume? I do apologize for that. It's coming through on mine, so I'm sorry if that's not coming through on yours. There's not much I can do about that, unfortunately. And as, yes, Adrieli, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Yes, she is absolutely deranged. One sick puppy. And Tim knows his stuff. These motions are a joke. Yeah, they're written. They're just absolutely written. In Idaho, she got life in prison, right? She's not facing the death penalty in Arizona, but they just want to make sure that nothing sticks. So the same thing happened with Ted Bundy. Remember, he was convicted of the sorority murders, but then they went ahead and tried him again for the murders of the little girl at the elementary school. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, just to make sure that in case something happens, like there's a mistrial later, or I don't know, some kind of a weird exoneration, or they have to throw out the case on a technicality, that these people will not go free. 3 life prison sentences, right? I'm sorry about the volume there. There's not much I can, unfortunately, I've got it turned up all the way. I'm not sure what more I can do about that. I do apologize. Let's finish up here with Megan here. She's going to bring us on the details.
When it's completely irrelevant to her trial, I can only guess that it's because Lori is suffering from some profound insecurity. But for those of you who don't know the person that's being referenced in this motion, the boyfriend of Trina K is former prosecutor Juan Martinez, who represented Jodi Arias in the 2008 unaliving of her boyfriend. He successfully prosecuted that case. However, the fallout afterwards was not good for Martinez. He was
Now, just real quick, this is yet another Mormon connection. Martinez was the one who was with Jodi Arias, right? And you know, Jodi Arias was a Latter-day Saint and executed or unalived her boyfriend, Travis Alexander. There's this Mormons from top to bottom this week. It's insane.
Accused of aggressive conduct, witness intimidation, improper jury influence. In fact, probably the worst part of the case is that he allegedly leaked the identity of a holdout juror to a blogger with whom he had a personal relationship, trying to get her disqualified after she resisted voting for the death penalty. Martinez was eventually disbarred voluntarily, but here's a news report detailing the allegations and the fallout from that trial.
Juan Martinez getting disbarred was a long time coming.
Tonight, the attorney who sent convicted killer Jodi Arias to prison for life stripped of his right to practice law. Juan Martinez agreeing to be disbarred Friday in the midst of an ethics case.
As Coach said, Jodi Arias is yet another LDS nut. Yeah. And yes, I do remember Megan has been on Mormon Stories quite a few times. So much Mormon stuff. This has been such a big week here, Ray. A really, really big week. This is going to be a long episode. I'm giving it all to you, though. There's no doubt about that. Megan was talking about Lori and her brother growing up. Yep, there's no doubt about that. And was her man a zombie too? Probably. That's my opinion here. Charles Vallow, I don't know if that was before or after she started developing those zombie beliefs, but yeah, Lori Vallow is one sick puppy.
In my opinion, this is long overdue. This conduct goes back years.
Martinez is accused of leaking the identity of the Arias juror and sexually harassing female law clerks in his office. Arias's legal ethics attorney, Karen Clark, who filed the complaint against Martinez, now weighing in.
Jodi Arias' case was a very high-profile trial, and the allegations in this SMART charge involved, both of the SMART charges involved things that were going on behind the scenes that the public did not know about.
In a letter, Martinez says his consent is not an admission, and he still denies all the charges, but he no longer has the desire to fight the case. Going forward, one local attorney says this could impact Martinez's previous convictions.
Wouldn't be surprised at all to see, claims filed by people who are currently in prison saying that their cases were barred by his conduct.
See, this is the thing here, and I'm just going to jump in here. He's been disbarred. He has been ruled as, a poor prosecutor. And now is Jodi Arias now going to see the ability to challenge her conviction here? This is going to be affect both. Lori is wanting to bring this into her case. Jodi, you guarantee she's going to want to bring it into her case. This guy's incompetence there is really going to affect all of these very bad Mormons.
So obviously, Juan Martinez is a problematic person in the Maricopa County court system. But for Lori to bring in this personal information into a motion involving prosecutorial misconduct is just wild behavior. It has absolutely nothing to do with her case and kind of reveals her desperation in these last moments before jury selection starts on the 31st. Now, prosecutor Trina K did file a response, and she was very professional and didn't even reference Lori bringing up her personal life. In her clear, intelligent, and well thought out response, prosecutor Trina Kay addresses every single one of Lori's concerns to great satisfaction. I think it's highly unlikely that Judge Boreski is going to grant Lori's motion for dismissal or that he's going to give any credence to her allegations of misconduct on the part of prosecutor Trina Kay. It will be interesting to see, though, if the judge reprimands Lori for going beyond the scope of her motion, shall we say. Jury selection starts in just a few days, so make sure that you come back to the channel because I'm going to be covering the trial every single day as it goes forward and commenting as a family member who spent lots of time with Lori and the Cox family growing up. I'll be interested to see the outcome, and let me know in the comments what you think about this latest motion.
Yeah, and if you could please follow the Mormon News Roundup. We are on social media. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook, and we are on X. I would greatly appreciate that. And like Tim here said, read Alyssa Grenfell's opinion piece in the Salt Lake Tribune about the visions of glory and zombies. LDS Corporation needs to address the issue. It would be wise for them to more concretely speak out against these type of individuals, but they have a propensity of not doing so. And as Chris said, these people aren't reading the DNC. It clearly states how you can identify evil spirits. Big Chris always, yes, the whether you shake their hands or not. It's a good point, Big Chris. He always has a kind of a weird sense of humor, shall we say. And the visions of glory is now almost scripture for these absolute nutbags. There's no doubt about it. Pretty sick stuff here. We will be following the Lori Vallow trial on the Mormon News Roundup here. Sorry, just got a little bit of technical difficulties here to pull back up my slides here. I try to pride myself on not having technical difficulties, but it even gets to the best of us sometimes here. Sorry, 1 second. I accidentally closed out of something that I wasn't supposed to do. Bush League. It's tough when you're a one-man show here. Let me get you back up, caught up. I do apologize for that. Okay, but this isn't the only legal story here. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. This is another Latter-day Saint. All of this is just this week. Latter-day Saint in the news here. Trump pardons Nikola founder Trevor Milton. Now, if you're not familiar with Nikola, the Nikola founder is basically kind of like the Mormon Tesla. He built these semi trucks that were supposed to be electric, and they were supposed to revolutionize the industry. Unfortunately, the entire thing was a house of cards. The semi truck that he built was a sham. He borrowed millions of dollars and ended up defrauding a lot of people. This guy, at the height of his power, was worth about he had $1 billion net worth. This is one of the most wealthy Mormons on the planet, and he was very active when he was convicted. Well, Trump has weighed in here, and as he often does, he is pretty liberal with his use of the pardons, and he's pardoned one of the richest Mormons on the planet. Let's see what's going on there.
What was your reason for pardoning Trevor Milton?
Highly recommended by many people that was taken advantage of. He did a business deal like in Utah, as I have it.
Yeah.
And I think he was exonerated, and then
No, he was convicted.
they brought him into New York, where he had a rough road. I mean, he was exonerated. It was a
No, sir. No, sir. He was not exonerated.
big celebration. Again, I don't know him, but I was. They say it was very unfair, and they say the thing that he did wrong was he was one of the first people that supported a gentleman named Donald Trump for president. And
Well, he wasn't one of the first people that supported Donald Trump for president, but eventually he did support Donald Trump. The whole problem here with Mr. Nikola, founder Trevor Milton here, is that he claimed that he had all of this technology for these semi-trucks. I have a Tesla myself, and I kind of follow the electric vehicle industry. He claimed he had all this proprietary stuff about these semi-trucks because even Tesla itself no one has built any semi-trucks that are electric, right? There's not one company out there that builds an electric semi-truck. Well, he claimed that he could do it. But the problem is that the vehicle, he only had one, and it was a prototype, and it didn't even run. When they shot the promotional videos, they just put it up on the top of Parley's Canyon. They towed it up there, and then they had it drift down to the bottom, if you're familiar with that in Utah. All of the thing that he did was a scam from top to bottom. He ripped off a lot of people, just like, unfortunately, a lot of Latter-day Saints did. This guy was not exonerated. This guy was a crook.
And when I heard about it, I said, nope, not going to happen. They destroyed 5 years of his life. He fought for 5 years of his life.
Yeah, he destroyed 5 years of his own life by grifting a bunch of people.
life, and he did nothing wrong. And he's a good person.
What?
And basically, I had these fantastic recommendations about him from people that you know very well, all top of the line people. They thought it was a horrible thing.
Yeah, so here's your background real quick. It's interesting that his wife is not with him right now because his wife was with him during the entire trial.
I am now officially pardoned by the President of the United States, 4547, an amazing man that cared enough to call me personally to tell me how much of an injustice this all was.
Oh, yeah?
Done by the same offices that harassed and prosecuted him.
It's amazing what happens in our criminal justice system. First of all, this is a Latter-day Saint he's been completely pardoned. Not only that, he doesn't have to pay back all of the people that he got all of these. It was hundreds of millions of dollars in loans from people based on fraudulent tech that didn't work. That's the whole reason he went to prison. It wasn't just that you started a business and it didn't work out. Look, I've started businesses myself. Not all of them have worked out. I understand that. Sometimes it's just not in the cards. But he lied to those investors about the technology that was necessary for those semi-trucks. And this was like, what, 7 years ago, which is when electric vehicles were first coming on the market. Now he doesn't even have to pay all of those people back. So he grifted, like, his net worth was like $1.2 billion. I covered this on the Mormon News Roundup, I don't know, a couple of years ago. It was eventually one of the richest Latter-day Saints on the planet. And then now that he's been pardoned, he doesn't even have to pay back all of that crap that he had. I mean, this is an absolute tragedy of justice. This is one reason that I really rail against the criminal justice system in our country. We seem to have two tracks. We have one, which is where if you kiss the ring, and I don't care whether it's Donald Trump or whether it's Joe Biden. Joe Biden pardoned his son, and Donald Trump pardoned the Capitol rioters. It seems like if you're a regular person like me or you, then you have to be responsible for your actions. But if you're a high-ranking person with connections, well, then you can do whatever it is that you want. I find this to be incredibly distasteful. Now, like Ray said, Trump might pardon all of these Mormons. He might pardon even more people. Trump thinks he was exonerated on his own 34 charges he was convicted on. Well, he couldn't pardon himself because those were state charges, right? And as Steve, hey, welcome to the program here. I guess if you support Donald Trump, you could do anything and be pardoned. Well, what is the limit here? The sky seems to be the limit. I wonder if you can give someone back their church membership. I very much doubt that. Yeah, and as Alan said, it made for a great American Greed episode. Yeah, Milton was a scumball. He was a slime ball. He did nothing wrong. My eye, he ripped off lots of people, lots of banks, lots of people invested into his company. And now, what do they get? They're not even going to be paid back for the grift, and he gets to walk away with millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. As Lavender does, maybe she was busy making, got to be careful about the sexist jokes. As my moniker here says, folks, I just want to make sure you know that I am a certified non-sexist. So you got to watch what you say around here. Trump is an excellent judge of character. Big Chris is always tongue-in-cheek with these references. I appreciate that, Chris. Not too sure about that. Yeah, but Milton is going free. Another Mormon in the news here. I keep blowing it here. I gotta hit. Sorry about that. This is Bush League. I do apologize for that. I don't know why my technical stuff is. I can't wait to see what Chris says. I can't wait to see what what Trevor does next. Yeah, I wonder what he is going to do next. Probably rip off a lot more people. We saw the Capitol rioters. What did they do after they were pardoned? Some of them went right back into the Capitol and got arrested again. So anyway, I find it to be very disturbing. Okay, continue on. This is a blockbuster episode. Yeah, as Ray said, so if you become rich via grifting, get convicted, but you get pardoned because you're rich. Yeah, see, we have a two-tier system of justice in our country. One for rich people and well-connected people, and then one for the rest of us. If you're an undocumented migrant, you get shipped off to El Salvador with absolutely no due process. If you're a well-known grifter who took hundreds of millions of dollars from people, but you kissed Donald Trump's ring, then you get pardoned. That is a tragedy.
What was your reason for
let's keep on going here. This isn't the only Mormon news in the week as well. Mormons with Hope protests Israel-Hamas war. This is a new organization here. I'm not very familiar with it here. Mormons with Hope. Let's see what they're doing as far as protesting.
Earlier today, a group of protesters from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gathered in front of the Utah State Capitol to denounce Israel's violation of the ceasefire and to urge the United States to halt the transfer of arms to Israel. We go now to ABC4's Jensen Kim, who is live in the studio, was at that protest to tell us more about what happened. Jensen?
Right. Well, Jordan, it wasn't a large crowd today, maybe about 50 to 60 people who gathered, but there were times when tensions kind of ran high. Take a look.
Tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of people have died. They have been slaughtered with our weapons. This week, Israel violated a ceasefire, killing hundreds of people, over 700.
People from the group called Mormons with Hope for a Better World took to the steps of the Utah State Capitol this afternoon to speak out against the genocide in Palestine. The group itself isn't large. It has about 50 official members, and it's made up of people with faith and also with left-leaning political views.
I'm a leftist. I work for the liberation of all people because of the principles that my faith taught me.
There were also others from the church who joined today's protest.
I know I'm not anti-Semitic, and so I educated myself on the issues, and I really feel that the United States is supporting a genocide in Palestine right now that I can't support.
It's not a big group here today, but people say that this is a movement that's growing and growing. But often tensions ran high with people opposing the cause also being here.
They would come into the frame during interviews.
Hey, sorry. Would you move your flag just a little bit?
And some would accuse the protesters of being anti-Semitic and of being biased. Some would silently hold up flags of Israel and America.
I'm here counter protesting this event because I believe, well, first of all, I'm ethnically a Jew. These guys are here supporting the slaughtering of my people, and I'm here to counter protest that.
He also called the death toll in Palestine fake.
I believe the numbers are fabricated. The numbers who are coming out, the organizations that are coming out with those numbers, they're run by Hamas.
Despite some backlash, protesters carried on for more than 2 hours. Jordan, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints adopts a position of neutrality, but many of its constituents identify as Republican. According to Pew Research Center, 3/4 of Mormons associated themselves with right-leaning political views. But groups I talked to today told us that they feel the political views are shifting more and more within the church, and people are becoming more centrist and left-leaning. Back to you, Jordan.
Well, the church is remaining neutral on this, even though this is the Mormons with Hope protest is right in the church's backyard. What good are prophets, seers, and revelators when they can't tell us which side of any particular struggles are we supposed to be on? They say they only weigh in moral situations. How is this not a moral situation? If you look at the Bible as some type of an authoritative source, prophets all the time rebuked the kings. Frequently, you had Saul and David in the Bible, and you had other prophets who were rebuking kings. Our modern day prophets don't rebuke anyone. All they do is send thoughts and prayers. Now, whether this is a genocide or not, I think I don't necessarily know if it is a genocide, but it is absolutely horrific, and it is a tragedy of major proportions. And the fact that the church is doing very little in it is just another example of the church just abdicating its moral responsibility in the world. Now, I just want to cover, I watched this show here real quick. I don't want to get too political here, but I watched this show here with my son. We went to this documentary last night called No Other Land. This was an insane, incredible documentary. Look at this Rotten Tomatoes. Again, I do the Mormon movie reviews every Monday night on this channel at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You will get a new Mormon movie every single Monday night without fail. I do have a couple of great reviews coming up, including potential world premieres, which I can't let the cat out of the bag quite yet. But look at this Rotten Tomato meter, folks. 94 critic reviews with 100% and the audience score as well. Have you ever seen a movie with a double 100% rating with multiple hundreds of verified ratings? I have never seen a movie like that. And as soon as this rolled through, I went and watched this last night with my son. It was absolutely incredible, called No Other Land, meaning that the Palestinians have no other land to go to. I'm just going to play this trailer real quick. I know this isn't necessarily Mormon related, even though this last is about Mormons with Hope. I'm just going to play this trailer for you because I found it to be an incredibly moving experience, and I recommend that you all go and watch this movie. It's to be seen for sure.
Thousand Palestinians face one of the single biggest expulsion decisions since the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories began.
هاي قصة عن القوة.
أنا اسمي باسل.
مسافر يطا هي المكان اللي كبرت فيه. بداية تصويري هي بداية نهايتنا. جرافات؟ أنا متعب بخير.
شوف ايش في الوضع 48 لا يهودي اخويا
في صوت بيطلع يعني مش ناس قاعدين يعني مش بني ادمين.
شوف دخلوا.
This is what's happening in my village now. Soldiers are everywhere.
يكون كثير حلو يا زلمة كثير بعدين انتوا بتيجوا تزوروني مش انا بزوركم ولا لا؟ ولا شو تفكر؟ لو انت مكاني شو تفكر؟
Yeah, so this was really a life-changing movie for me. It really helped me open my eyes as to what is happening. This movie is set in the West Bank specifically, and to see what Israel is doing with the people in the West Bank, which multiple international courts and other independent organizations have said that what they're doing there is illegal, meaning that they are bulldozing people's lands and then building illegal settlements that they shouldn't be building. Joe Biden in the last administration supposedly put a bunch of pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu to say, hey, you need to stop that. And also you need to stop the brutality in Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu did absolutely nothing to change his plans. And we continue to fund Israel at a level of approximately $6 billion per year. We're supposed to have leverage over them so that they will act in humane ways, but we haven't been able to stop them from all of these illegal activities. This is a must-see. It's called No Other Land. Really should go and check it out. Highly disturbing video and definitely worth your time, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't recommend it any more to you more than I have here. Now, our next article, like I said, we have a lot of articles here coming up here. By the way, if you can hit the like, hit the subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. We are running a poll in the background here, and the poll results say Israel and Hamas, this is a tragedy that's got to stop. I agree with you. 16% of you said genocide, and 8% said Israel needs our support, and 8% said I support Palestine. Very complicated issue, needs global leadership. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints isn't going to provide it, and that is unfortunate. LDS Seminary coming to this high school here is raising concerns. Vallow School District says that they are aware of the chatter and happy to clear up any misunderstandings here. This is getting mixed reactions here from Vallow. I believe this is Vallow, Arizona. Many people are sharing their concerns here. I do apologize. There's a quick ad here, but many people are sharing their thoughts on social media about the Vallow School Board unanimously approving the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to construct a seminary building on the high school campus. Very interesting. People are asking, why is it needed and who is paying for it? Why do Mormons get to build seminaries on high school campuses when virtually no one else does? Well, that's causing more concern as we see the Mormon shrivel being confirmed, and as the stronghold in the Morador, meaning Idaho, Utah, and Arizona, as that diminishes, we will see more backlash to Mormon temples like we see in Fairview, and also seminaries. Let's check this out.
Social media about the Vallow School Board approving a Latter-day Saints seminary.
building to be on a high school campus for Mormon students to attend. KGUN9's Vanessa Gongora is in Vail and shares why there's controversy.
An available space now, but that won't be the case for long, as the Vail School Board approved a Latter-day Saints Seminary building to be built right here on Cienega's high school campus, which they say will make it easier for some students, but others have questions.
Some of those questions are, why is it needed and who's paying for it? Darcy Mentone, Vail School District's Director of Communications, says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is donating the building and will lease it for 10 years. She says this will benefit Cienega's LDS students because their current seminary is about 30 minutes away. Mentone says she's aware of the concerns being made and wants to clarify that there is a separation from church and state.
At all of our campuses, we have clubs for the Fellowship of Christian Students. Now, that's completely legal because, first of all, it's the student's choice to participate, right? And we're not forcing anyone to participate. It's just being made available to students with those beliefs. And that's the same thing we're doing here.
Mentone says this project was 13 years in the making and that the building will be used for more purposes than just a seminary. We will continue to bring you more on the story, hearing from an LDS student who is excited for the building and from those who say it's a bad idea. Reporting from Marianne.
I am highly skeptical, first of all, that this building will be used for anything that is generally non-Mormon related. They're usually for religious instruction only. And you can find a bunch of shorts on this channel, by the way, for my complete thoughts about seminary, which I find to be incredibly immoral for a number of reasons. Number one, Mormon seminary oftentimes is before school, though not always. Waking kids up at the crack of dawn, especially teenagers, to deprive them of needed sleep is immoral, especially since many of them do not consent to going to seminary and are forced for spiritual and religious manipulation by their parents. That is immoral. Number two, the curriculum in seminary is deeply disturbing. It is complete with disgusting excuses for polygamy, rationalizations for child marriages, racism, sexism, transphobia, and all kinds of other unholy and impure practices. And number three, there is no guarantee that your seminary teacher is background checked. Now, I understand that a number of the CES instructors are generally background checked, but we don't have that guarantee because the church generally only background checks seminary instructors in jurisdictions in which it is required by law. Of course, CS might be an exception to that. I don't know. So that makes it fundamentally unsafe for any child to go to a seminary. As I mentioned earlier, as the church stranglehold in Arizona, Utah, and Idaho continues to diminish, you will see additional pushback in these schools saying, why is it that the church is the only one, the Mormon church is the only one who gets these special carve-outs? Will you allow a seminary that is devoted to the Church of Satan? Will you allow a seminary for the Jehovah's Witnesses? Will you allow all them? And then where does it stop? How many little religions are you going to have popped up on your campus? And whatever happened to the separation of church and state? I have no problem with someone consensually going to a seminary program on their own, but I do have a problem when it's part of the school day. Let me know your thoughts on that. I really appreciate that. So let me cover a couple of those. Ray. At least those poor Mormons can go to seminary during off hours instead of early morning. Yes, but there's still early morning seminaries generally at these seminary buildings. I know for myself because I wanted to go have a full slate of high school classes. So even though my seminary was adjoining to my high school, I still took early morning seminary as well. And if you could hit the like and subscribe button right now, I would greatly appreciate that. And as Grant said, seminary's early morning brainwashing daycare for teenagers. Look, my son, all four of my kids, well, actually three of my kids went to seminary. I had two of them who graduated from seminary and one who went to partial. In 4 years of seminary for my oldest son, the amount of value that he gained out of that was exceptionally minimal. The quality of instruction was very, very poor. And I think it's generally a waste of time. Big Chris, I make a lot of extra money now being a seminary. I'm not sure about that. Being a seminary graduate, I do appreciate that. Big Chris, by the way, graduated from seminary with honors. I had straight A's all the way through. Although if you do go back and look at the shorts in this channel, you will see that I once cheated in my seminary career. I'm not going to tell you that tale now, but if you want to learn more about my cheating seminary scandal, you can find it right here on this channel. And as Tim said, I had seminary at my chapel. Now, I taught in the public school systems for a number of years, and sometimes we did have, including at a high school, and we did not have a seminary at the high school that I taught at. They had to be bused to the local chapel, which was an incredible time waster, by the way, because it took about 5 to 10 minutes to get there and then 5 to 10 minutes to get back. And as Andrielli said, you're assuming the kids are awake enough to remember anything. Generally, those early morning seminary kids, they don't learn much. It is a tremendous waste of time and resources. Yes, Ray, I definitely did cheat. If you want to learn more about that, you can find that short on this channel. I will leave that for you for a teaser. But my ethics are seriously in question, as most of you know. Now, on the lighter side here, Missionary wins how do you say that? Pupusas? I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. Eating contest in El Salvador. Look at this. He just wasn't eating for the win. He was eating for souls. The missionary made a bold deal. If he won the eating contest, everyone watching had to go to church the next day. And guess what? He devoured that challenge like a pro. Never underestimate the hunger of a 20-year-old missionary. It's a spiritual gift at this point. Let's watch this missionary win this eating challenge in El Salvador. Now, some of you out there might think that this is just a little bit of harmless fun. I just want to throw a wet blanket over this because I've talked a lot about on this channel, or at least a few times before, how I have a lot of problems with eating. You can go back and watch how I completed a 28-day fast on this channel, and I have a lot of problems with food. I eat too much and I don't eat the right foods. It's a big problem for me, and a lot of that developed when I was a Mormon missionary. When I was a missionary in the 1990s, I had not enough food to be able to eat properly. I had to eat very basic cereal for breakfast, and then I had ramen or peanut butter for lunch, and then I did not have enough money to feed myself for dinner, even though the church at that time was worth approximately $100 billion. And I don't know if that still continues over to this day when missionaries don't have enough money to eat. Therefore, what that set me up for was when I used to go to members' homes at night, I used to have to eat a lot there in order that I wouldn't be hungry. And it set me up for a lifetime of overeating, which is a serious problem. Now, I don't know if that still happens in the church today, but the overeating of this missionary, I find to be very distasteful, pardon the pun, because that is what set me up for a lifetime of having problems with food. So that's all I can say. I know that people want to look at this as some kind of a faith-inspiring story. I don't look at it as a faith-inspiring story at all. See, look at this. This is from Den Schizler. I'm sorry if I'm saying that right. Missionary life isn't just about preaching. It's about surviving P-Day hunger pains too. He thinks that that's some kind of a joke there. No missionary should be having P-Day hunger pains. The church needs to fund its missionary program so that they can have nutritious food at all times. And let's a couple of comments here. Just a white savior doing white savior things. Let's go, Big Chris. You're going to get yourself canceled, Big Chris. A whole rainbow of eating issues here in Mormonland. Absolutely. And I'm sure it continues to this day. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it did. I was hungry for a lot on my mission. Kindle, welcome to the program. I am with you 100%. If I didn't eat or overeat at those members' homes in the evening, I would go hungry. And this is when I was very, very active, being out on a bicycle all the time, walking dozens of miles every single week. And I was not fed properly during that time. And let's see here. I think I learned that the real reason why the women was disciplined because of something to do with polygamy. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure about that. Okay. Continuing this story here. I'm going to skip through this one. This is kind of a dumb one here. Because I don't want to take up too much time. More Mormons in the news, folks. Ruby Franke here is also back in the news. This is the famous child abuser, and a new show just came out on Netflix. It's not Sins of Our Mother, it's Devil in the Family, with her and Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt here. they are back in the news, even though they're both serving prison time. This is very interesting here. Look at what's happening in Utah. Utah has added protections for child influencers after Ruby Franke's child abuse conviction because she ran the very popular channel 8 Passengers, which some people said were exploiting her own children for clicks and for monetary purposes. And that was many people considered that to be very harmful here. As Ray said, another Mormon offender. That's great. Utah on Tuesday added new protections for children of online content creators following the child abuse convictions of Ruby Franke, abuse conviction, a mother of 6 who dispensed parenting advice to millions on YouTube before her arrest. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling through that. Governor Spencer Cox signed a law under the encouragement of Franke's now ex-husband that gives adults a path to scrub from all platforms the digital content they were featured in as minors and require parents to set aside money for kids featured in content. Kevin Franke told lawmakers in February that he wished he had never let his ex-wife post their children's lives online and use them for profit. So this seems to be a step maybe in the right direction, folks, because, children can't consent at that age to having their likeness, their video, all this put out online forever. I find it to be very disturbing and distasteful when people use their children in that manner, especially since children cannot consent to these things. And there's going to be new protections that says that, you can't just, post all of these things on digital content with minors here. You have to set aside money for the kids because the kids, guess what? During this whole case here, they didn't get any money for it. Ruby Franke and Kevin Franke got all the money. Now, if you're going to use your child's likeness, now you have to set money aside. So, there's no doubt about that. I think it's a pretty good step in the right direction here. And also, not only is Ruby Franke in the news, Jodi Hildebrandt is back in the news. We've had so many people in the news this week. Trevor Milton, we had Lori Vallow, we had Ruby Franke, and now we have Jodi Hildebrandt. All of these are Latter-day Saints. They're in the news. Look at this. Jodi Hildebrandt makes a Hail Mary attempt to reduce her prison time. Look at this. Is she going to get out? Let's check out the situation here. Jodi Hildebrandt attends a waiver hearing at a St. George, Utah courtroom on Wednesday where she pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse in a plea deal almost identical to the one signed by her former business partner and mother of abused children. So was she going to plead guilty or what's going to happen here? This is kind of a Hail Mary attempt. Let's bring you up to speed here real quick. It's kind of tough for me to get through a whole podcast here talking, but that's okay. Jodi Hildebrandt, known for her connection to Ruby Franke and now serving a prison time for aggravated child abuse, is trying to challenge that conviction. From behind bars, Hildebrandt said her lawyer was ineffective. Aha! Her plea agreement was unlawful and her due process was violated. She filed a petition for post-conviction relief on Monday. In it, she says a memorandum with all the pertinent facts is in the mail. Will she see the light of day? That is very interesting here. Now, the earliest time that she could get out here, folks, Ruby Franke was sentenced in February 2024 to 4 consecutive prison terms of 1 to 5, 15 years each for aggravated child abuse, resulting in a total sentence ranging from 4 to 30 years. The Utah Board of Pardons and Parole has scheduled her initial parole hearing for December of 2026, at which point they will assess her case and determine the possibility of parole. So 2026, December 26th, very interesting stuff here. But the question is, will she get out? This is definitely a Hail Mary. But yes, you're definitely seeing a lot of Mormons in the news behaving badly. Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt, Lori Vallow, everybody's in the legal machinations. Now, we are getting closer to General Conference, which we're going to talk about here in a moment, folks. But first, the church releases an annual humanitarian report every single year. Now, it is, I nickname it the humanitarian report, but it's technically called the Caring for Those in Need report. And it's generally released right at around the time of the Spring General Conference, which is the annual gathering of senior head honchos and church leaders. So the 2024 report just dropped here a couple of days ago. So how much money did the church allegedly give away in humanitarian donations or other humanitarian goods? Well, we're going to find out here. The summary highlights the church's commitment to welfare, self-reliance, humanitarian aid, emergency relief, and volunteer service, with expenditures totaling, this is the big reveal, $1.45 billion. Now, that is only up, folks. That is only up from $1.36 billion allegedly last year. So this is a very minor increase, not much more. The church provided assistance supposedly in 192 countries and territories, showing its global reach. This included about 4,000 humanitarian projects. Church members volunteered 6.6 million hours of service at church welfare and self-reliance facilities, in service missions, and in community service projects, demonstrating their dedication to caring for God's children. That dedicated service of 6.6 million hours, you times that by about $20 an hour, and you get, well, you can just do the math. It's about $130 million that the church counts as humanitarian aid for church service hours. Okay, and that includes, the service in the church welfare and self-reliance facilities. Last year, members and friends of the church were invited to seek and reach out to the one, as Jesus Christ taught in his parable and demonstrated through his mortal ministry, the First Presidency wrote at the beginning of the report. We are thankful for your contributions and are pleased to share this report of our collective efforts. Let's crack open this just a little bit and see what's going on behind it. First of all, even if we accept, let's back this up. I jumped the gun here. Let's open this and just check out the pictures. And the church wants to spotlight its supposedly humanitarian giving in a lot of far-flung countries, especially in Africa. As Kendall said, taking out of one pocket, putting it in the other. Very interesting stuff here. Here's also what we get. Here's the building self-reliance. Again, supposedly, this is what we're getting here of 600 education projects, Deseret Industries Associates, addiction recovery meetings. That's counted as self-reliance. That's in the humanitarian report. People who attend addiction recovery meetings and self-reliance. All of this is part of its supposed humanitarian giving. We also have the volunteer hours here, $6.6 million. New users for the church uses Just Serve. That's one of its platforms, which is a pretty decent platform. If you want to sign up and do some church service, whether you're a Latter-day Saint or not, you can go to justserve.org and sign up. There's been 134,000 new users registered and a bunch of projects. That's for anyone can get involved. This is one of the church's best ideas, in my opinion, is Just Serve. And Mr. Beast himself supports, he got on board and did a joint kind of an endorsement of Just Serve. You know, the famous YouTuber, Mr. Beast. He got on board with Mormonism and has tried to, try to get people to do a better thing. This is one of the best aspects, in my opinion, of the humanitarian report is the Just Serve. And also we have the humanitarian projects. These are the number of projects that it has, allegedly 4,000 projects. Very interesting stuff here with clean water, emergency relief, healthcare, mobility, and food security, all of these projects here. And Ray asked, does this include Bishop Storehouse giving? I believe that it does, sir. I'm not an expert on that. Anyone ever attended a Mormon pornography addiction recovery meeting, a group of defeated? Yes, I have actually attended one of those. Now, a couple of thoughts on this entire humanitarian report. Number one, the church is not externally audited whatsoever. So we can have no independent corroboration of the vast majority of what's in this humanitarian report. This is little more than propaganda, and it is only a slight increase from the last year, which is disappointing. The Widow's Mite report was projecting that the church would be going to, I believe it was $1.75 billion, but instead the church barely just crept up just a little bit farther forward from $1.36 billion to like $1.45 billion. That is a tiny increase. And remember that in the last in the last calendar year, the church grew in valuation $30 billion. So it went from a $265 billion organization in 2023 to an almost $297 billion organization in 2024. So it grew just over $30 billion. What did it do with those $30 billion? It only increased, allegedly, its humanitarian giving from $1.36 to $1.45 billion, even though it grew $30 billion. That is a tragic misplacement of priorities. Now, I cover this every single time with the humanitarian report, and you will see this in Austin Fife's Light on Truth letter, by the way, as well. Church members love to trot out the Caring for Those in Need report and say, look how much the church has given. No, the vast majority of what is in the humanitarian report cannot be confirmed. Approximately $800 million of what is in the humanitarian report is fast offering. The fast offering is something that you give at the local level and is given supposedly and kept at the local level, either at the word of the stake level and given to other people in your general area. How can that $800 million be confirmed? How can that be corroborated? How can that be investigated? Let me tell you that it virtually cannot be. You can have a few anecdotes of people who said that they received as church assistance at the local level, but how do we get to the $800 million? The answer is that we can't. So right off the bat, Over 50% of the report, almost none of that can be confirmed. How can we confirm all of the rest of these projects? Okay, the church water, the church, the vaccines. How can all of that be demonstrated to be true? In other words, how do we know that the church isn't, let's just be real honest about this. How do we know the church isn't using propaganda, whitewashing, and telling us a fib, or exaggerating, or just in error? Now, the answer is that we don't. Reputable charities are externally audited so that the people who give donations can have a reasonable assurance that what they're doing is alleviating human suffering. And you get to see how much, goes to administrative costs or marketing or whatever else it is by reputable independent auditing. The church, in my opinion, gets virtually no credit for its humanitarian giving until it subjects itself to external auditing. Church internal auditing is an utter and complete sham. Okay, so there are a few aspects of the church humanitarian report that we can confirm. For instance, the church in the last year gave $1 million to a food bank, or gave $50 million to the World Food Program, or gave, $40 million to the Red Cross. I think that number is a little high. I can't remember the Red Cross number. Now, we can call up those organizations and confirm those donations. The problem is that we know that in times past, the church has said that they're giving the money to those organizations. Those organizations have accepted that money, and then later, years later, that money is returned to the church under the table, and the church doesn't say, never releases a press release saying, yeah, we claimed that we gave the money to this organization, but they gave it back. So even the parts that we can confirm by calling them up on the phone and saying, did you get the money from the church? That we can't confirm that the money is actually being spent. This is the problem with the church internal auditing. So don't tell me ever about church humanitarian giving unless you can bring the receipts, which you absolutely cannot do. And as I mentioned earlier, the church currently has a valuation of $300 billion. Even if we accept this propaganda, unconfirmed, totally speculative humanitarian report at face value, that is less than 0.5% of the church's total wealth. 0.5%. That is a shamefully low level of giving and is an absolute moral atrocity. Now, covering a couple of comments here in the chats. Since the humanitarian report really gets me worked up because I think it shows us the church's priorities and hypocrisy in great degree. Ray, they should pay tithing on their growth in the form of tithing rebates. Well, if you want to tell people to give 10% to the church, I think a good baseline would be to give 10% of your wealth away, and the church is not even close. I wonder how informative those porn addiction meetings were. I can tell you that they weren't. When I facilitated, let's cover total futile circle. Yep, I think we got it. Okay, continuing the pain and the suffering here. Or the quality news program that you've come to appreciate here. And this is what Mormon Lies, which is actually kind of a new account, or at least I'm only recently familiar with it. They said this: a $1.5 billion in humanitarian aid from a corporation worth at least $250 billion. Actually, it's more like $300 billion now. Ridiculous. They can't even give 10% to the poor, the needy, the sick, and the afflicted. That is correct. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. The Mormon Church makes approximately between $100 and maybe $115 million every single day. $100 million every single day. So during this 2-hour podcast that you're watching, the church is making, what is that, 1/10? The church is making about $10 million while you were watching this podcast. $100 million a day. Well, how long does that take to get to 1.5 billion? Even if we accept the propaganda report, that's 2 weeks. 2 weeks of the church's income. That is shameful. That is an atrocity. And as Kendall has said, they don't pay taxes and they don't have accountability to pay the right percent of their money to charity. That is correct. They generally do not pay taxes in many of the things that they do. And that is unfortunate. And let's see. Okay, sorry to be such a middle schooler. Oh, yes, I think I got that. Yeah, so we covered the humanitarian report. Now, we have a long section here. We got a big episode, folks. I couldn't rush any of this. It's going to be a 2-hour-long episode, probably one of the biggest ones I've had in quite a while. The church now has these underwear influencers, which I'm a little bit sketchy, being, even though I am a certified non-sexist individual, and I have that in my moniker, it's kind of tough for me to talk about ladies' underwear without sounding really creepy, but I do need to cover these because these are big this week. The church is giving an inch, but some people will still try to take a mile. Still wearing 4 layers? Isn't this new garment revelation meant for people in hot climates? Mormon influencers be out there influencing. There are Mormon in underwear influencers, folks. And we're going to cover quite a few reactions to this, even though it is not my favorite topic to talk about, because I believe that someone's underwear is a personal matter, and especially girls' underwear. I don't like talking about it, but this is in the news, so I'm going to try to give it my best certified non-sexist take. Sorry, I believe I have this. Yes, I have this right here. Sorry.
I feel like a necessary thing for this new style of garment is going to be having like a good amount of these like wide tanks that you can wear on your own, or put under shirts that are like borderline, or like the muscle tank I linked a while ago, where it's there, it's very lightweight, it's not really adding a lot. But then if you want to wear something that's not exactly to that garment line, it allows that flexibility and freedom. I feel like a necessary thing for this new style of garment is going to be having like a good amount of these like wide tanks that you can wear on your own, or put under shirts that are like borderline, or like the muscle tank I linked a while ago, where it's there, it's very lightweight, it's not really adding a lot. But then if you want to wear something that's not exactly to that garment line, it allows that flexibility and freedom. I feel like
Well, so yeah, that's take number one here. New sleeveless garment thoughts. I feel like a necessary thing for this is the new style of garment. Very interesting stuff. I'm going to give you a bunch of takes here, mostly from women here. Rebecca Biblioteca, the new tank top garment will not be available for wide distribution until the fall. Yet many LDS influencers are posting videos of themselves happily bouncing around wearing tank top garments. How are they getting them? That is the $1 million question. How in the world did she get these garments? Because they are not supposed to be available in the United States at this time. I have heard people with mission connections in the Philippines or Africa are shipping them to the United States. It's all about the connections, ladies and gentlemen. And if you know anybody who can ship me those garments, leave it down in the comments below. I would appreciate that. I've heard, let's see here. I've also heard that the LDS Church is giving them to certain prominent faithful influencers. What? If you're a prominent influencer, you get to have the special underwear. That is a moral atrocity. I cannot believe. What am I reading here? Big Chris, I miss wearing garments almost as much as I miss all the blessings from paying tithing. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Are these influencers approved by the church? Well, on Mormon Stories, you will see some influencers who have claimed in times past to be paid by the church, but it is my opinion that the vast majority of them are not paid by the church and are just doing it on their own. A couple other tank top, let's hear. Rebecca Biblioteca is going to react to the new LDS tank top garments, and she's going to debunk them.
LDS influencers are at it again as they're working overtime to show us all the cute new styles we can wear with the new LDS tank top garment. Now the garment is interesting because it's more of a straight style, and a lot of the cute tops that you want to wear this summer are more of a racerback style with sort of a swooping in sleeve, whereas the tank top garment is straight. So some of that fabric might show through those cute tops you want to wear. This influencer's solution: wear a tank top over the tank top garment. So here we are again, the layers.
You have to wear a tank top over the tank top garment because the tank top garment, the cutout is not very good. It wasn't designed very well. So now we still have to have 3 layers.
Garment, bra, tank top over the garment for modesty to cover the garment, and then a cute top. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are we just back to more layers again? A tank top over the tank top garment? Let me know what you think.
That's 4 layers of clothes still. You have to have a bra, you have to have a tank top, you have to have a tank top garment, and then you need to have a top. Still have 4 layers. How is this an improvement? I mean, I guess it's an improvement, but it's still not a very good step here. There's no doubt about that. Let's cover a couple of the comments here. Songs of Our Own. Kendall telling women they are walking pornography is putrid bullshit made to control women. Yes, that's a famous saying there by Dallin Oaks. Only in Mormon land is there a black market for underwear. It is sick that we are in 2025 with a black market for underwear. That's unbelievable. Big Chris, so you can wear the new garments to Chippendales. Yes, sir. Now we're talking. Hey, if I'm in Las Vegas and somebody wants to buy my Chippendales ticket, I would definitely attend. No issues there for me. Eventually, when enough people leave the church, they will have to switch to folks wearing garments spiritually. Temporary commandments. I think I hear what you're saying. Rebecca's video about garments and the song Head, Shoulders, and Knees and Toes was something else. Women's modesty only. Of course, I got it. This is just such a big news article. It's still really, really big. These changes in garments are really, really big out there, folks. Sorry. And then one more comment here from Ruth. I appreciate you being on the program, Ruth. That's nice. A couple more reactions here. I have multiple reactions here once again. Listen to this, folks. New LDS tank top garments are for men too. Hey, folks, it's finally I can get in on the action. Where have these tank top garments been all of my life? Boy, they're for men too. It is about time. See, certified non-sexist here at the Mormon News Roundup, Kindle. The amount of pressure on women against the male gaze is enough by itself for the Mormon Church to qualify as a sex cult. I can't argue with that, but I can argue with, look at this. Brody's review of the new men's tank top. This is a handsome young man, by the way. I cannot wait to see him model these male tank tops. I want to get in on this action. This can't just be for women. I can't wait.
Looks like the LDS influencers have gotten their hands on the new men's tank top garment. Here you see one of the influencers who has modified one of her husband's existing shirts, sort of cut it off on the side so that it can fit with the new tank top garment. This is what's interesting.
I'm drinking
The
that.
garments being more straight and down the side don't necessarily fit with off-the-rack styles. Looks like the under the armpit is a little tighter than a normal fit of a tank top. Her husband says they're comfortable, but he probably won't be wearing them every day. So there it is, a preview of the new men's tank top garment. Let me know what you think in the comments.
I'm liking what I see here. I want to play that one more time there. Yeah, the problem here, once again, folks, it appears that the new tank top garments are not cut appropriately. There's not enough, I don't know if you want to call it negative space that's in here. It's too close to your body, so you can't wear a real tank top with it, so it kind of defeats the purpose of it. Once again, whoever designed these things, they got to get a clue here. What can I tell you here? This guy's not going to be wearing the tank top garments every day. He's going to miss out on some serious blessings, though. Oh, that's his problem here. And as Andrieli says, tell me your religion is obsessed with sex without telling me your religion is obsessed with sex. Yeah, we got a couple more reactions, folks. Oh my gosh, I did it again. Sorry, I keep exiting out of my own shoot. Sorry. Okay, I got to pull this back up. Sorry, I'm having a tough time on my I keep exiting out of my stuff. One moment. It's a lot harder to do the show by yourself because I can go through the slides if I have a guest. Then I can, when they're talking, I can make sure that I'm up to date on all my slides and things. So it's a little harder when I'm here. So 1 second, I've got more reactions than that for you as well. Here we go. More reactions, folks. Here we go. Let's see what we got here. Another one. How do you feel about the new garments? Review of the new garments. We're going to hear Faith Unraveled weigh in on this one too. Let's see what we got.
For those that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ, you know what I'm talking about. And so I am going to be wearing a couple different styles of outfits. Let's talk about the new tank top garments for Mormon women and why this has been so incredibly triggering for women who have left the Mormon faith. To do that, I'm going to start with a little story time. Back in 2009, when I was a young women's president, our stake hosted a fireside to talk to the girls about modesty. The woman giving the talk had a screen behind her where she could show us pictures of what was modest and what was not modest. One of the shirts in particular that I remember was really popular at the time. It was called Shades. I feel like they were made for Mormon women just so that we could wear something cute and stylish, would cover our garments. It would just barely cover our garment. The woman giving this talk explained that this was not modest because it was so tight fitting. It showed the silhouette of the breast, but it also was dancing too close to the line to showing off our shoulder. And why would we want to get so close to the line? Around that time, Dallin Oaks, a leader of the Mormon faith, also gave a talk to girls ages 12 to 18 to tell them that when they dressed modestly, that they were becoming pornography for the men. For the men. Very important to look at the words that are being used here, because when you look at what this can do to a young woman who is raised in this environment, this is not inconsequential. It affects self-image, intimacy, and so many other things for ex-Mormon women who have walked away from the church and are trying to unpack all the damaging impacts of purity culture. In a healthy, healing environment, the person who inflicted this harm would be apologetic. They would acknowledge it. They would leave room for airing grievances and talking about it. Instead, what the church does is see that these are issues, but instead of giving some kind of apology, some sort of formal recognition to the issue, they just change it. What it feels like to me is a massive gaslighting effort that all these young members
are a part of now, as they're talking about how wonderful the garment is, what it feels like is a younger sibling in a narcissistic family that doesn't want to hear about how dad did all these bad things to you because look how great he is to me. And that's
Yeah.
why this is so incredibly triggering. So if it seems like we're all just a little bitter, maybe there is something to that, but I think it's valid.
I got my hands on the
Yeah, that's a very, very good point there. I released a short video on this channel because I think that the best review or the best reaction to this entire garment change was given by Lindsay Hansen Park. And if you search for that on this channel, you'll see that I voiced her Facebook post, which is just so full of angst. She talked about all of the years that she wasted on what she called these shitty pieces of cloth. And I think it is incredibly powerful. If you search for it, you will definitely not be disappointed. I appreciate that. As Ruth said, a general conference prediction. We are going to get to those here just in a moment, my friend here. Motab all sat in coordinating tank tops. That would be absolutely lit. There's no doubt about that. Put yourself in the shoes of a 100% sincere woman believer. For decades, it's immoral and makes God sad. And now the church is on board. Triggering for sure. It's incredible how Mormon Jesus changes his mind about something that is seemingly so important. Nothing to be seen here moving along. I still have a couple of other, this, if you ever remember reading the New Era like I did when I was a kid, by the way, the New Era magazine said, don't be a dummy. And it talked about how you shouldn't be wearing anything that is quote unquote immodest. Well, look at this. Now, apparently you can. A mannequin wears whatever the world is selling. Your standards are higher than that. Well, actually, I guess they're not, right? The standards are now fine. This didn't age well. Why was this a problem back in the day, but now it's not a problem now? Why has this changed? Our doctrines never change. Get on with it. Well, it sure seems like they do, Tim. What can I tell you? Jesus just wants to see the shoulders. I do have a short on that as well. You know what? Let me pull that up here real quick here. I do have a short on that too here. Let's see if I got that. If I can just pull this up. Yeah, here we go. Mormon God finally allows women to show their shoulders. Here we go. I got this one for you. See if I can get this going.
You know what? Show me those shoulders.
That's it.
You know what? Show me those shoulders.
I love the Tomsters. He's just so chill. He's eating a bag of chips here. Mormon God after 200 years. You know what? And he kind of stumbles over his words. Show me those shoulders. Show me those shoulders. Yeah, I've got that short on my channel that I took from the Tomsters. I also have a full video of the Tomsters, every single one of the shorts that he ever did. Yes, that particular Don't Be a Dummy, that didn't age very well from the New Era magazine. I do find that to be very amusing. Ray, a very timely short. Yes, indeed, sir. I forgot to cue it up here. I'm kind of running on the seat of my pants here. Now, look at this, folks. It's not just the tank tops here. Now, sister missionaries are doing their outfits here, changing Mormon mission standards. Back when I was a missionary, sister missionaries couldn't even wear pants. But of course, that changed, I believe, in 2018, 2019, when President Nelson came in. He said, go ahead and wear those pants, young ladies. And look at these influencers here. With sister missionaries outfits. Boy, they're going to be looking like runway models here. This is incredible. Let's check this out.
My partner sent me this video this morning because he was triggered by it. He went to the North Carolina Raleigh mission in the late 90s. His mission president was Max Esplin, who also, not surprisingly, worked in the higher echelons of the MLM Nu Skin. One day on the mission, my partner woke up with a fever and chills. Although he was fairly certain he had the flu, he got dressed and went out to serve anyway. Because his fever was so high it was making him sweat, he decided not to wear his long-sleeve suit jacket for the day. Well, Mission President Max found out, and my partner received a tongue lashing about mission dress code rules, one of which was the expectation of always having a suit coat on when representing Jesus. Thus, when my partner saw this video of a sister missionary wearing something so comfortable and casual looking, it brought him back to the mission he served and the ridiculous standards he was required to uphold even when he was sick. Youth of the church today, have it better.
Yeah, this was from Generally Unquotable, by the way. Youth of the church today have it better. When back in my day, I must be getting old here, folks. Back in my day, you couldn't have any sister missionaries wearing something like this and looking hip and fashionable and social and like, I don't know, like a regular human being. Does anyone remember that one video where young pioneer women were talking about ruffles in their dresses? Yes, that's called Pioneers in Petticoats, by the way, which I have a review of that on this channel, by the way, which is one of the most horrific Mormon movies ever made, where a young woman is SA'd on the in the movie, or attempted to, and then she's blamed for her own assault because she was wearing a supposedly immodest outfit. You can find that review on this channel. Yes, it's a horrific Mormon movie. Kendall, so many Mormon ads working against the church itself now. Great and spacious buildings. The cockroach in the the cockroach in the ice cream. That's a famous one here. The garments, as Ruth said, shortened in direct correlation with temple steeples being lengthened. I like that. That's pretty funny. Ray, you say, when can Mormon missionaries wear something besides white shirts? They can now. Again, these are updated rules from President Nelson. He's loosened up on the pants. It used to be that this is kind of a crop top, kind of a close-fitting top. That was considered not allowable back when I was a missionary. Now it's perfectly fine. These sister missionaries are looking hip. They're looking cool, and they can wear, pretty soon they're going to be wearing tank tops. That's all I can say here. Pretty incredible stuff here. Big Chris, the sister missionaries should be knocking on doors or winning food eating contests, not fashion shows. Big Chris has the craziest sense of humor. I do appreciate that. Yeah, but now, I mean, you're on a mission here. Look, back in my time, you weren't, going in front of the camera and showing your cute outfits. You were knocking on doors. I didn't have time for this type of stuff. But like Generally Unquotable said, the people nowadays have it so much better. And I shouldn't chagrin that, even though I kind of want to, because I had to go through all of that. But I'm glad for them that they have a better life now. It just shows that the church can reform, which is a positive step forward. Still more reactions to Mormon garments. I told you I had a big episode here. Why do ex-Mormon women care about garment changes? That's what people keep asking and say, well, what's it to you? Because, hey, you're not wearing the garment, so what do you care? And this is one of my favorite channels out there, by the way. If you don't subscribe to her, you're really missing out here. This is Uncertainly Natalie Dormer. She gives some really good takes out there. She's absolutely fantastic. If you're not following her on TikTok, you're missing out. She's going to talk some more about garments here.
Jake from Mormon Troll Farm. Contrary to the single-celled organism you call a brain might think, I'm actually not mad. I am actually to the point in my Mormon journey where the church does stuff like this, and I just roll my eyes. I honestly don't give two shit, but it's okay. Men like you, have a hard time understanding sarcasm.
Like me?
Jake, since I have empathy, it's okay if you don't know what that word means, I'm going to attempt to explain to you and anybody else watching this why I think other people might be upset about something like this for valid reasons. It's not about the clothes. It's about identity. Garments signal your devotion to God and your commitment to the church. And then you make that a core part of who you are. You wear them every single day. For women especially, there's so much that goes into wearing garments. I know for you, Jake, you can't really understand what it means to actually get ready for the day and actually to think about your appearance, what you look like, the clothes you wear. I know that's hard. It's a hard concept to grasp. On top of clothing styles, so many clothing styles that we couldn't wear as devout Mormon women, there's also the issue of negative health effects that garments have caused for many women. Yeast infections being one of the main ones. On top of that, many women, my age especially, were shamed a lot for what we wore. If we wore tank tops like this, if we wore thicker tank tops, we were shamed. We were kicked out of dances, out of EFY. We were told to go home, dress differently, because we were told that that was immodest and that wasn't like garment appropriate clothing. Despite all that, as devoted Mormon women, we wore our garments anyway. We were devoted, we were dedicated. We knew that this was what God wanted us to do. We dealt with the additional health consequences. We dealt with the shame. We dealt with the mental load of trying to figure out what to wear, what was appropriate, including the additional layers of clothes that we had to wear on top of our garments. A bra, an undershirt, garments, it's a lot. As far as the church goes, they can't on the one hand say, make garments a core part of who you are, your identity, your devotion. This is signaling who you are as a person. And then on the other hand, get upset when ex-Mormons who are now seeing all these changes feel like part of their history and their identity is being erased. It's like being the oldest sibling in a big family with very strict parents. And they put all of these rules on you. And you suffered from so much anxiety and you dealt with so much trauma trying to be the best person they wanted you to be. And you dealt with so much, but because you love your parents, and because you had no other choice, you had to do what you were told to do. You had to follow these rules, or else you would not receive the love, and you would not receive the attention and validation that you so desperately needed as a child. Years later, you're an adult. You're no longer tied to your parents financially. You are living on your own. It really doesn't matter what your parents think about what you're doing. However, your youngest sibling, who is now a teenager, is still living at home, and your parents, these same parents that raised you, have relaxed all the rules that you had to live by.
Right.
And you're like, well, what the fuck was the point of that?
Exactly.
None of it ultimately mattered. What was
Right.
the point of all of that suffering that I had to go through? What was the point?
Exactly.
Personally, I'm stoked for Mormon women for these changes. Super happy for that. And I can acknowledge that for many Mormon women, ex-Mormon women, that they are grieving this loss of their identity, their history, and their personal story. And it may not seem that deep to you, Jake, but that's okay. I would expect nothing less from you. Hi, Jake.
She is so snarky. I absolutely love her content. I watch it all the time, to be honest with you. Kendall, garments are virtually signaling and a way to separate us from the world, i.e., we're special and superior. That's what all religion is: wheat and tares, sheep and goats. Her biggest question, which I think is such a valuable question, says, what was it all for? And that's what Lindsay Hansen Park said. What was all of the sacrifice for if it can just be erased in an instant? And the song said, as far as ex-Mormons being still interested in these topics, well, we still have members in our families, right? The damage of control and shaming happens to us, and it's still happening to many family members. Absolutely good point. I got in trouble at girls' camp for having an unbuttoned shirt over a leotard tied to the waist. Right. The purity culture and the sexual shaming is still out there. There's no doubt about that. And a lot of gaslighting that's associated. There's a serious amount of angst, especially for women, that's involved with this issue. It continues to dominate the news. You will see influencer after influencer, or people just reacting to a lifetime of issues with garments. My wife in particular had a number of UTIs, infections that are associated with these things. They're really hot. They're very uncomfortable. And now all of that is just going to be erased in a moment. That seems incredible. So Ruth said, I'm very happy for people to wear whatever underwear they choose. Ex-Mos care about the truth, including lived experiences. Right. It's tough for me, especially as a man, to talk about all of these mostly women's issues, but I do the best that I can. And that's why I gave myself the certified non-sexist. Now, leaving the garments behind here, former bishop of the LDS Church is in court here for essaying. Very tragic situation. Let's just cover this briefly.
ABC4 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Sarah Murphy. Brian McElhatton has the night off. We're glad you're here with us on this Monday evening. A former bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was in court today, accused of sexually abusing a teenager. ABC4's Jonathan May is following his legal process and talking with an abuse survivor to see how a case like this may affect the community. Jonathan, what have you learned today?
Yeah, that's right. 68-year-old Mark Stevens stood before a judge today. He's accused of using his leadership to ask a teenager to meet with him back in 2006. Now, the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office says Stephen allegedly told the girl she needs to know how to please her future husband or that she would be held accountable by God. One woman abused by a Catholic priest when she was a kid, who's now helping survivors, weighs in on the case. She leads Utah for the survivor networks of those abused by priests. They say they support women and men wounded by priests, ministers, bishops, deacons, nuns, coaches, and teachers.
Especially in a situation where it's a person that claims to represent God.
Yep.
Who is doing the crimes.
Yep.
It's kind of soul murder, because it's like,
yeah,
why does God want this to happen to me?
Process is just starting, with today's focus on scheduling. A preliminary hearing has been scheduled for July 16th. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Jonathan May, ABC4 News.
Jonathan, thank you very much. We're following this now. New details about a woman found stabbed.
Okay, yeah, another unfortunate case here of essay in the pews itself. Absolutely terrible. Just real quick, a couple of polls that came out in the background. Should ex-Mos care about garments? 50% of you said yes, but 40% of you said who cares? And that's very interesting to me as far as this poll that's been running in the background. Bishops abusing kids. Well, 50% of you said that that's horrible, and 10% of you said that that's just an example of a broken system. Now, somebody brought up here that says that, by the way, that elders need to wear white shirts. That's not the case anymore. Elders can wear multicolored shirts. That was changed along that same time, 2018 and 2019, where they can wear slightly different colored shirts that are like blues and things like that. So that has also changed. The church has changed quite a bit of what has done with its particular missionary clothing that needs to be its missionary clothing. I told you I have a big episode here tonight. Next one. Jen next door, David Archuleta is getting more and more critical about the church. As you can see, his ex-Mormon journey here. Respectfully, I don't give an F anymore. I've been your good boy for over a decade. It didn't matter. The fact that I was queer accepting made me a bad person to you. I'm not trying to impress you anymore. He is getting more confident in himself and his ex-Mormon identity, and he's sticking to the church. Let's hear it from David Archuleta.
Anymore kind of song. It's just like, you know, I've been your good boy for over a decade now. I still try to be that, but like y'all, it didn't matter if I was still a good boy. The fact that I was queer and accepting that made me a bad person already for you. So now it's like, you know, okay, then I'll just be whatever I want, because all you want me is to deny my queerness, and I'm not going to do that. I was still a Mormon when I came out for like a year after coming out, and people still wanted to put me as like a betrayer and the bad guy, just because I was okay with the idea of falling in love with a man and accepting that. Like, if that was my course, then so be it. And people were just like, we knew you were bad. Like, they thought I had lipstick on. I'm like, why is lipstick bad anyway? It doesn't matter. But I didn't have lipstick. My lips were red from eating chili peppers on my pizza. And if I talk about sensuality and, oh, that is not appropriate, it's like, for who? Like, I'm not trying to impress you anymore.
You can see how confident that he's getting. I don't need to impress you anymore. I don't need to be, I don't need to please you anymore. And I don't care what you think anymore. You can see, I know it's an old trope, but you can kind of see like the scales of Mormonism. If you think like the mental fog that is lifting from David Archuleta, where he finds himself and his own voice, and he's going to become more and more critical. I wouldn't be surprised that David would get even more critical. Now, his memoir is coming out here. I don't think it's been released quite yet. I could be wrong about that, but he is writing a book, and I'm certain that his ex-Mormon journey is going to be there along the way. The church is still making progress, by the way, on the renovation here of the Salt Lake Temple here. This is a time lapse that's going along with this. Again, this is a 6-year renovation, and I think this time lapse is pretty cool. This is probably a $1 billion renovation. This is an absolutely extraordinary expenditure of resources. In my opinion, it is an abject waste of those resources. Imagine if you or I had $1 billion, how much human suffering could we alleviate with that amount of wealth? It could be a tremendous amount. And instead, it is being forced to redo a warmed over Masonic castle. I find that to be a big waste of time, although it is incredible to see this renovation going in real time here. I do understand that it needed to be retrofit for the earthquakes. I do understand that. But as far as gutting the Vatican of Mormonism, this is a historic building, and it should never have been retrofit in accordance with President Nelson's wishes. It should have mostly just been retrofit for the earthquakes and not gutted from the beginning to the end. I think that was a tragic waste of resources and also a misguided endeavor from the beginning. Now, speaking of which, it's that time here for Mormon General Conference predictions. We're coming up next week, folks. It is going to be Mormon General Conference time here. And as Rebecca Biblioteca said, Bill Reel predicted that all of the recent dialed-up rhetoric about the importance of women in the church might be leading to some kind of change to be announced at the upcoming General Conference. Any predictions on what changes could be made to women's roles to the church to give the appearance of progress? I thought of girls passing the sacrament or letting women back onto the stand. It would be window dressing, whatever it is. Whatever it is, it will most likely be a very, very small change if it is addressed at all. Elder Rundlin, about 2 weeks ago, talked about the role of women in the church, claiming that the church doesn't know why it is that women have a secondary status and that the heavens have been closed in this particular issue. There's a lot of predictions. I don't know what's going to happen in General Conference, but usually there's addresses that are geared towards women about staying in the boat and especially keep sweet, pray, and obeying. And here's one prediction right here from General Conference that we're going to be, let's hear this prediction that Rebecca Biblioteca says. I predict this will be one of the upcoming talks. Let's see what she has to say. One more time. This is the basic message of General Conference, by the way. If you don't like the church, here is your inspired solution. It's really quite simple, Fert. If you don't like it, you should try it again. In fact, all of Mormonism, if you pray and you don't receive an answer that the church is true or that the Book of Mormon is the most correct of any book on earth, then you just keep trying it again until you do. Actual reform in the church is hard to come by. There's no doubt about that. Funny conference prediction from Rebecca Biblioteca over there. How about Wake Up Bro? Conference is starting. A couple of conference memes here. What do you think about this one?
From the Conference Center Theater in Salt Lake City, Utah, this is the Saturday morning session of the 190.
That music is really powerful but that's about it. Wake up, bro. Conference is starting. That music really gets me going, by the way. That's that Conference Center music. As some of you may recall, I was a member of the orchestra at Temple Square for a number of years and played so many shows that had that type of music that's involved. That definitely gets the conference memories going for me. We'll be watching General Conference, by the way, and this is my plan here, folks, for next week here. As Ray said before, I always slept through conference. I think that is a common sentiment. Happy childhood memories visiting Temple Square. Me too, no doubt about that. Now, last General Conference, I ran a live stream. Folks, I live streamed General Conference onto this channel, and that got my very first copyright strike on YouTube. Having put out almost 2,000 videos, I've never had a copyright strike until then. The church will not allow you to live stream General Conference, which is a bizarre thing for me, because wouldn't you want your message to get out to as many people as possible? And I really feel like one of the reasons that the church doesn't allow the live streaming of General Conference is because they want to control the narrative. When you go over to the General Conference on the church's official website, or excuse me, on the official YouTube channel, the comments are turned off so that you cannot type along with it, which of course makes it so that you can't have any backlash. So it's only on the church's two official channels, I believe the Church Newsroom and also the General Conference channel, that you can actually watch it. So I tried to live stream it last year, got the copyright strike, but folks, I know how to get around that this time. So we are going to be running a live stream on the Mormon News Roundup on probably most of the sessions of General Conference. And it's very simple on how to do it. I'm just tipping my hand for next week. During the General Conference, you just need to pull up General Conference on your own monitor and then pull up the live chat of the Mormon News Roundup and set it to the side so that you're watching them both at the same time. So I can't live stream on the channel, but the live chat will be going and we will be talking about General Conference. I'm going to try to do it for all sessions, although I cannot guarantee that, which probably means that I will not have a Sunday night show next week. I'm not 100% sure about that yet, even though I haven't missed a live show in a long time on Sunday nights. But if I'm doing 4 sessions of General Conference on a live stream, I don't think I'm going to be able to do much more than that. So, and by the way, this is a believers only live stream, folks. No anti-Mormons out there. Bill Reel is not invited. Radio Free Mormon, no. Nemo the Mormon used to be allowed. Now he's not because it's excommunicated. Please no John Dehlin or anyone else out there who is not a believer. This is a believers only live stream. Pull up the actual live stream on your computer or on your phone, and then the live chat will be in the Mormon News Roundup so that we can comment on it. Some guy out there, welcome to the program. Great to have you on board. I do appreciate that. We are coming closer to the end of this broadcast here, folks. The big news. The state clerk emeritus over there at Twitter, one of my favorite accounts, said the church is releasing a new AI app that tells you which talks are most relevant to you and what you need to repent of based on your recent social media posts. General Conference rumor. I think that's pretty good. I hope. And why just provide a reminder? Have AI pull the tithing from your account automatically. You know, folks, AI can do a lot for you. There's no doubt about that. Another General Conference, inspired General Conference rumor, state clerk emeritus is pretty funny out there. I've got a couple last things to take us out of here. Did you hear this one? This is absolutely insane. Trump's faith advisor is selling 7 Easter blessings for a $1,000 gift. Are you kidding me? Resurrection and the blood. This is that Easter time of year here, folks. Incredible here. Paula White Kane here. She's celebrating the Lord's Supper with Jesus and his apostles, celebrating. But look at this, selling blessings for $1,000 each. That's insane. Incredible. Before we go on, Kendall, how do I choose between those? Well, I'm the only one who's going to be live streaming. So that's the difference here. Obviously, there are many different people who are going to give reactions, but this is the only place with a live stream that you will be able to do that. So that's the differentiation. Listen to this here. Trump faith advisor is scamming supporters with $1,000 Easter blessings. I can't believe when I saw this. Incredible.
And I believe that when you honor God on Passover,
Uh-huh.
starting on April 12th at sundown through Good Friday on the 18th and concluding on Easter Sunday, you can receive these 7 supernatural blessings
What?
for you and your house. According to Exodus 23, God will assign an angel to you. He'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll give you prosperity. He'll take sickness away from you. He will give you long life. He'll bring increase in inheritance, and he'll give a special year of blessing. You're not doing this to get something, but you're doing it in honor to God, realizing what you can receive.
For your special Passover offering of $1,000 or more as the Holy Spirit leads, you will also receive the beautiful 10-inch Waterford crystal.
Wow.
Don't miss your moment to release 7 supernatural blessings and provision into your life.
I cannot wait.
Donald Trump's faith advisor, Paula White, selling several supernatural blessings to people for the low price of $1,000 or more. But you have to pay up before Easter or you won't receive your blessings.
Yeah, there's always a catch with these blessings. You know what I mean?
You know, it's pretty obvious why this false prophet selling blessings is so close to Donald Trump.
I'm proud to be partnering with my very good friend Lee Greenwood, who doesn't love his song, God Bless the USA, in connection with promoting the God Bless the USA Bible. This Bible is the King James Version and also includes our founding father documents, yes, the Constitution, which I'm fighting for every single day, very hard, to keep Americans protected. Also, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance are all part of this God Bless the USA Bible. And it's just very important and very important to me. I want to have a lot of people have it. You have to have it for your heart, for your soul. All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. This Bible is a reminder that the biggest thing we have to bring back America and to make America great again is our religion. Christians
Oh my gosh.
are under siege.
What?
We must protect content that is pro-God. We
No.
love God.
No.
And we have to protect anything that is pro-God.
No.
We must defend God in the public square and not allow the media or the left-wing groups to silence, censor, or discriminate against us. We must make America pray again.
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely insane. I'm not making this stuff up here, folks. But first of all, she's an official government position. How are you going to be talking about people giving $1,000 to her when you're an official government position as an advisor? Whatever happened to church and state and selling $1,000 blessings? Is there anything more of a grift than that? Absolutely horrific. Tim, scam grifter like all the impetuses cabinet. Yeah, I mean, maybe he should have read the part about the thou shalt not commit adultery since he was adjudicated as a sexual abuser. I'm not going to get into that, but you know, he could read a couple of passages in the Bible, might help him out just a little bit, I might say. Now, Britt Hartley there gives a nice snarky reaction to Trump's faith advisor promising 7 supernatural blessings for the low price of $1,000 here, including God going after your enemies. Boy, that is handy, by the way. Let's see what Britt has to say about this. This is absolutely crazy.
I've got a great deal for you today. It is 7 supernatural blessings, including God going after your enemies for the small price of $1,000. This is from Trump's faith advisor. A lot of you guys in the comment section are saying things like, why are you going after this person or this religion or this kind of spirituality? Like, let people do their thing. Just leave people alone. I get a lot of those comments. This is the reason why I don't. I know and carry the stories of thousands of people whose time they have lost, years that they have lost, and money they have lost into religions, spiritual gurus, aspects of spirituality, etc., because they just didn't know. The purpose of this channel isn't to tell you what to do or not do, or to attack people. I don't attack people personally. But I want everyone to be able to look at this and know that this is called prosperity gospel and know how it shows up in each religion so that you can actually make an educated, consensual choice as far as, do you want to send $1,000 for 7 miracles? I want you to know before you go to astrologer, I want you to understand hindsight bias and how it's playing with your brain so that you can be more educated and grounded and make more intentional choices. I want you to know about things like elevation emotion, and that's what we kind of call the spirit, and why it comes out in things like singing together and music and key changes. So my point in going after religion or dowsing rods or even like groups of people where meditation maybe isn't the best tool for you, whatever it is, it's not because I'm your authority. It's not because I'm trying to tear people down. It's because I want you to have the education to understand what's going on kind of behind the curtain so that you can make more consensual, intentional decisions about your own spiritual path. And I hope at the end of the day that that approach helps people more than if I were just to say, like, you know, everybody do what they want. I'm not going to say anything about anything. That to me feels like an environment where charlatans are able to thrive because
Right.
there's just not enough education for people to really make consensual choices in the spiritual space. So, of course, I am not the boss of you. If you want to go spend $1,000 for 7 miracles, then that is your right to do so. However, you should research prosperity gospel and you should see the rate of return on prosperity gospel promises because the return on investment is not great.
Right.
Oh, I've got to.
Yeah, the Mormon prosperity gospel has been evaluated in the Journal of Economic Studies, and it shows that it absolutely does not work. No doubt about that. A couple of these comments here. Uh, let's see here. It's I wanted to cover a couple of these. Don't put your hard-earned wages into a bag with holes. Consider your ways. Haggai seems like wise advice here. As far as Big Chris, thanks to Trump, we can get that electric semi-truck back on track. I very much doubt that. I wouldn't hold your breath, and I wouldn't invest in anything that has to do with Mr. Milton. And some guy out there, thanks for joining the program. I have some thoughts about his favorite book would be The Art of the Deal. Interesting here. Come unto me for your money, you shall be saved. Religion is all about the money. And Ray, yes. Hey, this is a good inside joke. He read 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. I see where you're going with that one. I know that joke. I appreciate that. And Songs of Our Own. Do you get the Bible and golden tennis shoes as part of Easter blessings? Incredible. I'm not sure what these supernatural blessings are supposed to be. Hey, thanks for the shout out, D-Bays. Hope you're doing good. I appreciate that. I am having a heck of a night. Songs 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians walk into a bar. I did put together a ridiculous short that went along with this, by the way. I have a short for pretty much everything. When you are the king of content, I never lack for a video. This talks about how religion is all about the money. And this is a rare video, folks. Wendy Watson Nelson versus George Carlin. Let's check this one out. Let's see here. I got to get the volume going.
Only one true and living change agent.
Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky.
And he changes not.
Who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
And he loves you.
He loves you and he needs money.
And he loves your desire and your efforts to change.
He's all powerful, all perfect, all knowing, and all wise. Somehow just can't handle money.
He is your savior and my savior.
There's an invisible man.
There's an invisible man. And that's the thing about religion. You know, God is all powerful, all knowing, all wise, all good, but somehow just can't handle money. And you got to send it to somebody to get those blessings. It's always incredible how that works out, isn't it, folks? Now, I actually saved the best here for last, folks, because the biggest news article, I told you this is a blockbuster week here, and I'm giving you all of this, and we're keeping that streak alive. I appreciate we're not snapping the streak, folks. 63 days since the last super chat. I do not want you to snap that. We're going to see how high we can make these super chats go. I'm totally 100% serious about that. Now, Jared Halverson, if you go back to our original If you go back to our original thumbnail here, this is why I put Jared Halverson into the dunce cap here. He really stepped in it, folks, here. And we're going to hear what Jared had to say here as he mansplained his way through women's roles in the church, and quite a few women took issue with them. A lot of women's issues here tonight here. I do appreciate covering these issues here. Let's see what Rebecca Biblioteca says about Jared Halverson stepping in it, about the role of women in Mormonism.
Many of you have seen the recent video put out by Jared Halverson as he discusses his great concern of the rise of the nuns, meaning those who have no religious affiliation, and his even greater concern that more women seem to be stepping away from the LDS Church than ever. Now, I have podcasted about this. There are so many statistics that are coming out showing this is true because women are so concerned about social issues, treatment of women, gender inequality, patriarchy, many reasons. The thing that stuck out to me in what he said is he said, I've studied graphs, books, charts, articles. Have you ever talked to a real woman? That's my question. If you're trying to find out what's going on and why we're leaving, you need to talk to an actual person. Give us that pulpit that you say we can't return to. We can stay in the pews, but not the pulpit. It's time to listen.
Yes, indeed. I've never talked to a real woman myself, so I can definitely sympathize with what Jared has said there. Let's continue the women who are going to take issue with Jared Halverson's mansplaining here. Let's see if I can get the volume to work. Sorry about that.
Conditioned to speak in subtext. And what I mean by that is that a lot of us are raised to communicate indirectly, implicit communication versus explicit communication. Mormons are very good at implicit communication. We are terrible at explicit communication. And I don't know if that's because we are raised to interpret scripture, to find meaning and read between the lines, through general conference talks, through lesson plans, manuals, anything and everything. We are taught to find meaning anywhere. Or if it's because when we are trying to explain our doctrine or our policies or our beliefs to outsiders, very often those beliefs or that doctrine is problematic at its core. So we have to be very creative in the way that we describe these beliefs so it doesn't sound so fucking terrible. And this video by Jared Halverson, it's over on his Instagram, is a perfect example because the way that he's explaining the points in this video, essentially saying women are leaving the church and it's their fault, right? You're the problem. You're leaving the church, women. You're going to be responsible for the downfall of society if you leave the church. That is his point in the video, but he doesn't explicitly say that. So when a Mormon is watching this, they're like, wow, he's so nice. Yeah, agree, bet, right. Because he's saying it so nicely. He's speaking so softly. He's using implicit communication. He's not going to say the thing he's trying to say directly because it's problematic.
Excuse me, called Religious History is Women's History. That women have always outnumbered men. Not at the pulpit, but in the pew.
Not at the pulpit, but at the pew. I mean, I'm just shocked that he ran straight into the point and didn't even realize it. Women have no authority in the church, but they're filling the pews. They're not at the pulpit because they don't have authority. Got it? Got it.
Incredible things. So much heavy lifting in the kingdom of God is done by God's daughters.
So women don't have authority in the church, but they do most of the labor. Got it.
I read a book once on the history of secularization in Great Britain in the 20th century. And one of the author's main points was religion seemed to collapse in Great Britain when women stopped coming to church. Men were a mixed bag, sometimes strong, sometimes weak, sometimes coming, sometimes leaving. But women seemed to hold steady, and they held the church up until they stopped doing that. And there wasn't much left to keep it afloat.
Women, if you leave your church, you are responsible for the downfall of religion and therefore society.
Oh, man.
Got it.
In section 25, verse 10. Yes, it applies to men just as much, but I want you sisters to hear it with feminine ears. 25:10, to Emma Smith, verily I say unto thee that thou shalt lay aside the things of this world and seek for the things of a better.
Ladies, the reason why you are leaving the church and therefore responsible for the downfall of society is because you are focusing too much on things that are not directly related to church and to God. So what that means and what that includes, it's anyone's guess. Anyone's guess. It could be your skincare. It could be your hobbies. It could be your job, your career. It could be your friends. It could be your significant other. The sky's the limit, but they're not going to say what it is exactly that you're focusing too much on, because that would open Pandora's box.
And the thing about it is, I'm going to jump in just real quick, is that if you keep reading of the Doctrine and Covenants, you'll see where Emma was threatened with destruction if she didn't let Joseph Smith shack up with a bunch of teenage girls. So is Emma really the example that we should be using in this situation? There are no good people for Jared to reference here, so he's up a creek without a paddle, once again, sticking his foot in his, putting his foot in his mouth.
In some ways, I'm asking you to sacrifice. Lay aside the things of this world. But in another way, I'm not asking for a sacrifice at all. It's not a sacrifice when you get more than you give.
Translation: even though you ladies have already done so much labor in lifting up the kingdom of God, you are also not doing enough. And listen, it's not that hard. It's not that hard, because if you do it the right way, you're going to get blessings. So clearly, you've been doing it wrong this whole time.
Right. A lot of this is bringing out a lot of emotions. First of all, Tim is saying that Jared's apology is meh. And Ray says he said the quiet part out loud. And there's also a certain look on Jared's face that is, I don't know, there's something about his demeanor that really just puts a lot of people off, to be honest with you. And Song says, it's nice that he read the responses, sad that he still doesn't get it. And I already mentioned the fact that Emma Smith, are we really using her as an example? Cult tactic, always blame the victim. It's your fault. The church can never do anything wrong, and neither can the leaders. If you're unhappy, that's a personal failing on your part. Perfect cult tactics. And says Emma was a boss, got remarried on Joseph's birthday, stuck it. Yeah, I definitely got that. Okay, a couple of, I think I have a couple of other reactions here. I'm really giving you the full treatment here, ladies and gentlemen. What's the point, Ruth, before we get to Jared's apology for causing pain? Ruth says, what's the point in having priesthood power if everyone else has priesthood power? Two women need to stay so that they have someone to preside over, plus do the heavy lifting. I appreciate that. Song said she would be destroyed if she went against her polygamous spouse, right? Exactly. Now, Jared did come to at least a bit of his senses here. And as he runs the Unshaken Faith podcast, by the way, and I have a review of a couple of his videos, because honestly, folks, there's something, I don't know what it is about Jared, but he is like a major mansplainer. And it takes one to know one. Okay. So I'm really telling you that there's just something really, really patriarchal about this guy. I don't know what it is. He's like the perfect embodiment of like the Mormon white, like I know everything and you don't type of persona. There's something just very off-putting about him. And I don't like to smear somebody personally, but I think it's not just what he said, it's about how he said it. Now, he did release an apology here for causing pain here, and I want to cover that here. Hello, everyone. This is Jared. He's going to apologize. How do you feel about how he did? Which is, first of all, I want to say that's very rare in Mormonism for even though he's not an ecclesiastical leader, at least from a church higher level, he is a paid Mormon stooge for the church. And any apology from any Mormon leader, even no matter at what level, is extraordinary. So let's see how Jared did on his apology.
I'm Jared Halverson. Some of you may have gotten to know me for the first time recently, and I just wanted to let you all know that I am losing sleep over pain that I'm causing, and I just want to apologize for hitting a nerve that I had actually hoped to calm. When I say I'm losing sleep, that's literal. There's my clock. It's a little after 2 a.m, and the last 4 hours or so, I've been reading your comments, watching a longer video from some people that are just hoping I can learn some things. And
sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Oh,
I'm Jared Halverson.
I apologize.
Some of you may have gotten to know me for the first time recently.
I believe he's referencing that Mormonism live episode. I can't be certain about that, but they did a deep dive treatment into this, and we're only giving you a 30,000 foot view.
And I just wanted to let you all know that I am losing sleep over pain that I'm causing. And I just want to apologize for hitting a nerve that I had actually hoped to calm. When I say I'm losing sleep, that's literal. There's my clock. It's a little after 2 in the morning, and the last 4 hours or so, I've been reading your comments, watching a longer video from some people that are just hoping I can learn some things, and I am eager to learn as much as I can.
Now, a song says, does he have a family? No one else is in bed. He's keeping up at 2:22. Interesting question there. I really thought that he was married. And it seems like he's referencing the Mormonism live interview, although we certainly can't be certain about that now. The summary of the alt-right now: we're suffering and oppressed because white males aren't as dominant, as privileged as we used to be. If he is in bed, where is his wife? Interesting question there. Good question.
That's always been the case. I just want to help. And I had hoped to help, to support my sister saints, to build you up. And that did not come across. I so wish that there weren't a connection between I don't even know how to say it. I'll keep thinking, I'll keep wrestling. I'm just grateful for the love of God for all of his children. And it's something I feel keenly. I want everyone to be able to feel that wherever their pain might be. I do try to meet with people one-on-one as often as I can. I've tried to respond to many of you in the comments on Instagram, and the sisters who were on the video recently, I reached out to both of them tonight as well, just seeing if there's a way we could meet, and so I can learn more from their experience in the church and leaving the church and out of the church.
I assume he's talking about Britt Hartley and Julie Hanks here.
I do try to do that as often as I can. It's one thing that's been a blessing to me through the being out there, and it's given me a chance to put my finger on the pulse of so many sisters in and out of the church that aren't feeling heard. I want to know you. I wish we knew each other. I wish I had the time to go and have lunch with every one of you, to hear the experiences you've had, good, bad, and ugly, and how we can make things better. I've always loved something that Bill Gates once said from a business perspective.
Bill Gates?
That your best source of information are your unhappy customers. I meet unhappy customers of the church all the time, and they are an incredible source of information that I hope I'm using to make my classes a more welcoming place, make my office a place where healing can occur as we just mourn with those that mourn and wrestle with difficult things. I am a firm believer in the power of validation and of empathy. I try to prove contraries in every conversation I ever have. And so this morning, when I woke up, still reeling from the firestorm, I prayed, as I often do, for thick skin and a soft heart, which is a hard combination. It's a contrary of its own, but one that I'm praying to develop. I'm sorry for pain that I've caused. Grateful for the atonement of Jesus Christ that can heal us all, and grateful for your perspectives that you are teaching me. And so please continue to do so. I do believe in a Zion on the horizon where we are one heart and one mind dwelling together in righteousness with no poor, whether that's poor in spirit, poor in the feelings that they are being given about their worth. I just want to express my love to each of you and my love for the Lord, who keeps me going through all of these things, and pray that he'll keep you going through the things as well. Thank you for just giving me the chance to talk to you. And I pray that this doesn't cause additional pain, but gives you a little piece of a heart that is broken in me, for unintended pain that I may be causing. I feel strongly about the Hippocratic oath when it comes to what I'm trying to do, which is cause no pain. And I just want to support and understand and love and teach as the Savior would. And I'm a far cry from him, but I'm working on it. Thank you.
Okay, let's cover a couple of the comments in here. First of all, as Kendall said, if he's eager to learn, prove it, connect your behavior to the pain, right? Be specific about it. Denounce the specific mistake. What specifically did you say that was wrong, Jared? That's what we want to know, to be specific about what you said, but he didn't do that. As Ruth said, he normally sleeps like a baby, despite the atrocious sexism, bigotry, and lack of empathy towards pretty much everybody who isn't a white male. What about the rest of the Mormon philosophy of disgusting excuses for polygamy, racism, sexism, transphobia, bigotry against LGBTQ? What about all of it? Okay, there's an entire enchilada here, and he only seems to be nibbling at just a little bit of it. As Kendall said, he can't say it because he has to stay within the bounds the Lord has set. See, this really reminds me, I actually have a video coming out on Randy Bott. If you think back to 2012, I've got a little bit to say about this. Randy Bott in 2012 was the one who was interviewed at BYU. He's a famous professor. And this is at the same time that Mitt Romney was running for president. And a journalist came to BYU and stuck a microphone in front of his face and asked him about the race and the priesthood ban. And Randy Bott said the quiet part out loud about the Mormon church's incredible racist past and about how it taught for generations about how either Black people were fence sitters or neutral in the war in heaven or had been cursed by Cain or anything the rest of it. He said the quiet part out loud and he got in big trouble. I look at him as Jared Halverson as just really a reincarnation of Randy Bott. Jared just had the audacity to say the quiet part out loud about the sexism in the Mormon church. And when it comes out from somebody who has a demeanor that is incredibly, really weird, he just gets thrown under the bus. It's not like Jared misspoke. This is modern Mormonism here. This isn't like, oh, I didn't understand the church's teachings. No, women are always the second-class citizens in the church. They never have the final say over anything, and they have no a real authority in the church. And he just said all of that totally unapologetically, like it was no big deal. That's the problem here. And of course, he can't fix anything that he said. It's not like he can take something back because he's a page stooge for the Mormon church. And if he does take any of it back, then he's going to lose his job with all of his perks. Look, I taught full-time or part-time for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for 24 years. I know a little bit about what Jared has to do to toe the party line. And I look at him also. First of all, we have a poll that's running in the background here about Jared's apology. Let's just review the poll results here. So Jared Halverson's apology, 40%, not even close. 40% said he's worse than Dives. I try. Only 10% said pretty good, and 10% said no. It also reminds me of this entire situation of Brad Wilcox of the Tri-State Fireside in April of 2022, when he gave also a number of sexist, racist, and really ridiculous responses. He also apologized. The amount of times that we get a Mormon leader, and I guess we can lump Jared Halverson in with a Mormon leader who will actually try to apologize, is so incredibly rare. Now, I have to give Jared at least some props for apologizing when the church, Elder Oaks in particular, has said that the church does not give or seek apologies at all. I mean, hell, the church wouldn't even come out and apologize straight up for the Mountain Meadows massacre. So the idea that he at least tried is so much better than every Mormon leader who has ever really come before him, who refuses to apologize for anything. So I have to, even though this is in opposition to what the poll said, I have to at least give Jared at least something. At least some small props here. Big Chris, this guy needs to have a party with Brad Wilcox. He shares a lot in common with Brad Wilcox. He definitely does. A couple of other comments here. I represent a church that has treated women poorly for too long, and instead of owning that problem, I blame the victims. That was wrong. Yeah, this apology definitely wasn't as good of an apology as it could have been. When I try to make mistakes, I try to be specific, and I try to, try to make an apology whenever I've messed up. Seems like Jared's apology kind of missed the mark here. A couple of other things here. Songs, it's kind of dicey. My kids still bear their testimonies every fast Sunday. I definitely got you. A couple last comments here on Jared Halverson. I do have one more reaction here for you. I've given you my thoughts about it. Ruth, so if you figure out your employer is a sweatshop and abuses its workers, you leave, right? Right? Ruth, I understand that. If you've ever been in my position, it's real easy for, I'm going to be honest with you. It's real easy for people to say, that you should have left the church, you should have left your employment at BYU before you did, because I was really started to be a PMO when about 2010, and I didn't end my church employment until 2019. When you paycheck, when you have healthcare, when you have all those things, and your children could be destitute, it's a lot more complicated of a situation than I think that you might realize. I'm not trying to make excuses for Jared Halverson. I can just say that I've kind of lived that position. And when you have people like John Larson of Mormon Expressions, who sits there with a fiery demeanor and says, all those BYU professors who don't believe in the church, they just need to walk away right now. It's not that simple when you're providing food for your family. It's a very complicated situation, and it's just not that easy. Okay, so that's just my own personal experience about that. Now, Britt gives us we're getting close here. I know there's a long episode here, but Britt is going to give us a reaction to this one as well.
Hello, everybody. I am Jared Halverson. Some of you may have gotten to know me for the first time recently, and I just wanted to let you all know that I am losing sleep over pain that I'm causing, and I just want to apologize for hitting a nerve that I had actually hoped to calm.
You can go to his channel Unshaken to see his full apology video, but the podcast that he's referring to and the women that he's referring to reaching out to is both me and Julie Hanks when we recently podcasted about some of his remarks about women leaving the church. We did that with Bill Reel and RFM just 2 days ago. And I'm going to say something that not all feminists in this space are going to agree with, but that's okay because we all do feminism differently. My opinion on this one, this is the time to show grace. He not only listened to 2 hours of me talking about it on a podcast, but also read through thousands of comments of women saying why his words were so hurtful to them. And behind his words is a real human who's up till 2 a.m. and can't sleep because he knows that he messed up. But he's willing to listen. He's willing to learn. He reached out to me and Julie on his own. I didn't reach out to him. We're coming into a conversation together in good faith, and this is the kind of behavior that we want to see. And also, it's not the kind of behavior that we usually get from church leadership. We don't usually get, public apologies from church leadership. And he's also getting thousands of comments on his own platform saying, like, you have no reason to apologize. Like, you shouldn't have to apologize for saying the truth. And it's like, no, we need to give him the message that we appreciate that you took the time to listen and you're feeling the effects of what you said and the harm that you caused here, and that you're willing to engage in conversations to better see that blind spot in the future. And you can see later on in his apology video, he starts to say something and then he pauses and he says, you know what, I'm going to think about how I want to say that before I say that out loud. That's the behavior that we want to see, that you're more aware of that blind spot. You're more aware of how your words can hit others and cause harm on others. And sometimes I do think that there can be a shadow side to feminine rage, which is instead of it being anger that leads towards good in the world and conversations, it just turns into vindictiveness. And I don't want to be kind of in that side of feminism. So I'll be meeting with Jared on Friday. I look forward to having a productive conversation. I appreciate his humility in this moment. I'm appreciating his public apology. I'm appreciating that he is taking the time to see why his words cause so much harm and he's making changes. And I just want to show grace and respect for all of that. I have had to make public apology videos before. I am not aware of my own blind spots, and I hope for others that when I have to do this, that they'll understand that I'm trying and that I'm learning and that I'm willing to learn and that I'm sorry. And if I want others to treat me that way, I also have to treat others that way. So I'm going to this that I didn't think that I'd be waking up saying, which is, if you have a second, go to his page and just tell him thank you for listening. Thanks for reaching out to Britt and Julie. Thanks for listening to that podcast. Thanks for understanding why your words were so hurtful. Thanks for trying, because we don't always get this behavior. And when it happens, that's our time to show grace. That's our time to engage in conversations. That's our time for bridge building. And he is showing that. And I think we need to see the human behind that, because that's how I would hope to be treated when I make my own apology videos because of blind spots that I have too. So I was pleasantly surprised to wake up to his apology video today. And because I publicly critiqued him, I also want to publicly say I respect how he's handling this situation right now. I respect the way that it's opening up conversations and opportunities for bridge building. And when I'm seeing that happening, I just instantly turn towards grace and compassion, because I have blonde spots too, and I've made apology videos too. And
I think we got the idea there. I guess that's the reason, the empathy that Britt brings is the reason that she has like 1 million subscribers and that I don't. And I've also had to make an apology video. And so I tend to try to give grace to people when they make an apology and try to do better. And that may be in opposition to the people who are out there in the chat, but it's just the track record of Mormon leaders is so minimal when it comes to taking any even the slightest responsibility. And of course, I don't think Jared has fully grappled with it yet, but at least he's made the smallest effort. And for a mid-Mormon male who I could be Jared in another multiverse, folks, that's a big step forward. So I'm with Britt that I want to give him at least some props in making this apology. And hopefully it will be a step in the right direction for him and for other people. And this is what Anthony Miller said. I think this kind of thing, that is the kind of thing I would have expected from Jared based on what I've seen from him in the past. The prior video was so tone deaf, it was shocking to me. And this is what Ron said, who I've had both of these on the Mormon News Roundup, by the way, both Anthony and Ron. Ron said, I really appreciate when someone recognizes that they caused someone else pain and offered a heartfelt apology with an attempt to understand and change to prevent it from happening again. This is what I would love to see modeled by all church leaders, and I think that doing so would make this a safer and healthier church environment. That's exactly what I said. Ron does good work there. If the church actually followed the example of Jesus instead of just dictating how the members should act using his name as a bludgeon, I would never have left. See, that's what I'm trying to give people grace when I can. I am quite a forgiving person myself. Now, just the last couple of memes here. I gotta, that group chat signal thing, when you accidentally include it in a war plan in the group chat. Look, I always think I need to start my own news program because I'm a news junkie at heart. I listen to a lot of regular news. And this signal chat thing was a debacle here. But the Democrats definitely, Pelosi and Schumer, they were huddling to decide how best to let this massive Republican screw up slip through their fingers. The Democrats are going to drop the ball on this most likely. And here's that signal chat here. Look at this here. Great work here. Powerful start with the emojis. Hey, they really screwed up on that one. That was a major blunder. I do have a quick video. We're about ready to be done here. But Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller, and JD Vance. Anyone else getting some cool messages on Signal? This is what actually we have actual footage here of what happened here. Let me play this for you.
We go any further, all right? We have to swear to God, Allah, that nobody knows about this but us, all right? No family members, no girlfriends, nobody. Of course. Agreed.
Don't worry, man. I won't tell anyone either.
The fuck is that? No, don't worry about him. He's cool. But listen, before we
I think that pretty much sums it up here. Who the heck is that? That brings us to our final segment here, folks. We are just moments away from getting out of here. Anthony Miller made a more lengthy post with 5 examples of where it went wrong as well. Yes, I did see that. Well over 2 hours. This was a barn burner. And luckily for us, we're keeping that super chat alive. We do not want to see that go away. I'm not at all joking. Joke of the week time. Here is my joke of the week. Me trying to fit in with the women in Sunday school. Here is my Mormon joke of the week.
And how are you? I'm good. And how are you? Yes. Some weather we're having, huh? Oh, and it's nice. And the birds. And animals. I love animals. Yeah.
One more time.
Hi. And how are you? I'm good. And how are you? Yes. Some weather we're having, huh? Oh, and it's nice. And the birds. And animals. I love animals. Yeah.
That Relief Society voice is definitely triggering to me. I'd like to thank a couple of people out there who support the Mormon News Roundup. I greatly appreciate that. I'm talking about Bob, Royce, RMW, Carol, David, Blaine, Brett, Colette, Michael, and especially a big thanks to Sophronia and to our channel members out there, Emirac, Starla, Jeffrey, Banks, and Garrick, Lee Mortensen. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast, folks. We managed to deliver this one. I can't believe we finished this one out here. The Mormon News Roundup, a barn burner, huge week. Okay, just remember, next week, I don't think I'm going to have a Sunday night stream. Not 100% sure about that, but we will be having probably a live chat going with General Conference because it is a big weekend. If you can hit the like, hit the subscription, I would greatly appreciate that. Folks, always think celestial, and remember that no unhallowed hand can stop the Mormon News Roundup from progressing.